and we are live.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Could you please call the roll? 6:08 on May 2nd, 2023 for a regular city commission meeting. And if you would call the roll.
Certainly, Mayor, we are live. The mayor wanted me
Thank
to
you,
announce
Madam
that
Clerk.
she will be here by 8 this evening. So Mayor Betty Resch is absent. Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy,
Present?
Commissioner Sarah Maliga,
Present.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes,
Here.
Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz.
Here. And the moment of silence or invocation was to be led by Mayor Betty Resch. So I guess I will do that on the fly. And I would just like to ask for all of us to think a little bit outside of ourselves, maybe even outside of our own city, just to think as broadly and as compassionately and as inclusively as possible to help us all make decisions that are best for all of the community as best as we know how. And to thank our first responders who've been very active in the city recently in a number of different ways, both at the beach and in town, and thank them for their service. Amen. And if Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz would like to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Does anybody else have any requests for additions, deletions, or reorderings? I have one. Okay, the request has been made that because the officers who are here from the fire department are on duty, could we move them up to the front, which seems like a very reasonable request. Any objections?
Motion to approve.
I apologize. I do have two in here. Sorry.
Okay. What's your-
Presentation G, the CRA update by Joan Oliva was deleted from a previous agenda and will be at a future meeting. And it was replaced by the new presentation G, which was a presentation of challenge coins to Captain Mike Pepper, paramedic Scott Bierge, and driver Tyler Whittington from the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue.
That's what.
And we're proposing to move G up to A and everybody else down one.
And not a problem.
Okay, and all in favor, say aye.
I second.
Okay.
I, did we have a
Thank you.
second?
Well, now we do.
Okay.
All right, so we'll start in with that then. Presentation of the challenge coin to Captain Mike Pepper, paramedic Scott Berge, and driver Tyler Withington from the Palm Beach County Fire Rescue.
Thank you. And with that, it's the district chief we'd like to call up to the podium to say a few words about why we're recognizing these amazing heroes. Come on up.
And you're going to do the. Thank you. Quorum in the chamber.
First thing I want to say is thank you, Commissioner Malaga, for the initiative to make sure that our firefighters don't roll unnoticed. And thank you to all of you commissioners for always, and also the city manager, it's not here, the manager, the city manager. I didn't forget about you, but always watching us and supporting us and always giving us a platform with you. So I really appreciate it on my name and then the firefighters, all the first responders here. I want to begin to say this firefighter show.
Chief, can you talk in the mic just so everybody can hear you at home? Just push the button on top.
On the very top.
Hello?
There you go. Is that working now? Okay. No, it didn't
I-
work.
No?
You gotta speak into the mic. Good thing we don't save lives, right? Thank you, Anthony. Well, there's a reason the lawyer doesn't have one. I'm
Is it
here all
working
night,
now?
folks. I work for tips.
Is it working now? Yeah,
Yeah.
excellent.
You're good.
Do you guys want me to start from the beginning? No? Okay, good. Thank you. Because I already lost my line here. Uh, All right, so I just want to say this firefighters show up and put themselves ahead and others ahead of themselves before by risking their lives to making sure our neighbors and families are safe. They called it, Commissioner Malaga mentioned, that you guys know about it. It's just one of those calls that they put themselves at risk on not knowing what it was, but because of their training and their willingness to serve and everything that they've done with the efforts, child was able to live and go back home with their families. This call was particular. It was a child, it was a 1-year-old child that fell in the pool. His father removed him from the pool. He was only 1 year old. Mom and father began to do CPR by the pool until a neighbor came back and took control of CPR. From the moment the call went in to 911 to the moment our crews arrived, which was Captain Pepper, Scott Bergera, and Tyler Wuntantung. They showed up. It was only 5 minutes. Think about this, coming in from the call, having to go through the dispatch, having to get all the information, the address, them having to get into the truck, responding license sirens with everybody not moving out of the way, obviously. Getting to the call, it was less than 5 minutes. The crews that are here today, they're here today because they're on duty. There was also the people I need to mention. There was driver Chris Curtis. There was firefighter Joshua Boschnak, Lieutenant Mike Verga, and Savannah Palik, and also Captain Ada Rayburn. So it's just not a team of 3 people. When you show up in a call, we show up on a bunch. We show up on engine rescue. So you're gonna have an entire crew that work together. Everybody has a position and everybody has a job to do. While they were there on the call, they pretty much the child didn't have any vital signs and wasn't alive, what we call it in cardiac arrest. When the crew started working the child, they lasted about 15 minutes on scene, making sure that they have everything, the equipment working, CPR information, all of that. So call was 5 minutes until they got there. They would stay 50 minutes on the scene. By the time the child was transported to St. Mary's, which is a pediatric unit, they were able to get vitals back. So that means they were able to get a heart rate, and they were able to confirm that by a new machine that we have that's called an ultrasound. We actually have an ultrasound now that can tell us if you have a heartbeat or not. And I'm hoping I'm not making it too difficult. I'm just trying to give you guys an idea of how intense and the kind of things that these firefighters do, So one of the things that I want to say, and I don't want to keep you because I know I jump in front of the line, which is great, by the way. Thank you. So after getting all of this, the child made a complete recovery and he was able to go back home. So, and I know Commissioner Malaga actually was listening to the call when it happened, if I'm not mistaken. So, and you guys are going to be doing some right time with us too. Please welcome, so you guys can see what the firefighters do and the kind of equipment we do to protect all of our citizens in Lake Worth, Lantana, So it's a great community. Thank you for acknowledging our firefighters. Thank you for bringing us in. We'd like to do this more so anybody can ask questions. We're willing to do that. I also am going to leave the Drowning Prevention Coalition of Palm Beach County. I will leave a phone number and I will leave a link so anybody can look at it. And I will leave also the Community Risk Reduction Division. We have a class in CPR, and I can help you guys arrange to bring the class to the cities or the library or however you guys want to utilize this. Let me know because it is, So I thank you for your time and thank you so much.
Each officer, stay right there. Captain Mike Pepper. Scott Bergy. And Tyler Whittington.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Next is a presentation from School Board Member Edwin Ferguson regarding the state of education. Welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commission. I'm Edwin Ferguson. I'm your school board member for District 7. In Lake Worth, District 7 covers Barton Elementary and South Grade Elementary. So we have a small slice of the great city of Lake Worth Beach. But, and I apologize because I think I was scheduled to come here a few months ago and got stuck in traffic on I-95 and had to reschedule to this late date. But this will be something that will be at minimum on an annual basis where I give you all an update on how those two schools are performing and how maybe the community can help to kind of augment the good work that the teachers and staff are doing at the respective schools. So what I want to start out with firstly is to kind of let you know what my main focus has been in these first 6 months or so. Time is really flying. So early childhood education is everything to me. That's the foundational piece. I believe that children who start behind tend to stay behind, but conversely, those who start ahead tend to stay ahead. So I think it's important that we as a district and as a community really focus on making sure that Johnny and Jane, if you will, are properly equipped to excel from day one of school. School safety is also something that's very important to me. In fact, to be candid, I think in no small part, me kind of pushing the superintendent and unfortunately other events around us have helped lead us toward this pilot program for the metal detection devices. And that's definitely something that from day one I've been very vocal about, full-throated, if you will, in terms of the need to help ensure the safety of our children and our staff members at school. So in regard to the pilot program, it's delayed because the distributor is having some sort of, delays with getting the metal detection devices to us. But we anticipate having the devices in hand by the beginning of the next school year. We'll implement the pilot program, and then assuming that there are no kinks, we'll implement detection devices through all high schools. And then in speaking with the superintendent, the plan will be to, as soon as possible, implement or install those devices at all middle schools. And I think ultimately what you'll see here, I believe in the next 2 years, I believe, this is me speaking for myself, that we'll have metal detection devices at all of our schools from K all the way through 12. So I think that's a very great thing, great step toward helping to ensure the safety of our students and everybody else who comes into our campuses. Also, I'm really big on public-private partnerships. Particularly now with some of the legislation that's come from Tallahassee, we expect to have a shortfall in terms of money that we can use for various different programs and activities at school. So I think it's even more imperative now than ever before that we as elected officials engage with our private companies to ask for additional financial support for our respective schools, because there most likely will be a shortfall and it will be substantial. So I think that's something that's important. And last but not least, I'm really passionate on entrepreneurism. I'm an attorney. I've been running my own office since maybe 3 months after graduating law school. So I can definitely speak to the benefits of somebody who kind of rolls up their sleeves, sets anchor in a community, and how that can benefit that corporation, but also the community as well. I definitely would like to see us have more entrepreneurs born, bred, and raised right here in Lake Worth Beach, giving back to Lake Worth Beach. I think that's a great synergy that will occur. Now to the part that I hope I don't bore you with. It's the numbers. So what I like to do is kind of let you all know how our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students have performed in English language arts, math, and science for the 5th graders, 2021 school year versus 2022. So the last 2 school years. Now, in regard to South grade, I must say that they are noteworthy in regard to the gains that we see from 2021 to 2022, pretty much across the board. So the principal there and her staff, they're doing a very good job. Specifically in regard to 3rd grade, for example, the proficiency of 3rd graders jumped by 15% from 2021 to 2022. Now, I have to be honest with you, the numbers are still not where we would want them to be, but I do appreciate those type of gains. And I'm really hoping that this year we see a similar type gain at that school. 4th grade, they had a 20% bump from the school year ending in 2021 to the school year ending in 2022. I can tell you that throughout District 7, those are extremely high numbers, and I suspect they're pretty high across the district as well. Fifth grade, 5% bump. As far as that goes, but it still was a bump from 2021 to 2022. Barton Elementary, 5% bump from 2021 to 2022 for third grade, 6% for fourth grade, 2% for fifth grade. And I'm going to speak to Barton and South grade later in terms of how maybe we as Lake Worth Beach residents can help them get an additional leg up on things. As far as math scores go, again, South grade, they're doing some really good work there. Third grade, we saw a 19% bump, 2021 to 2022. Fourth grade, there was a 10% bump and a 3% bump in fifth grade. Barton was 6% for third, 6% for fourth, 2% again for fifth grade. Science is the fifth grade is the only grade where we kind of test for aptitude in science in elementary. And I see that South grade had a 2% bump from 2021 to 2022. And Barton had a 7% bump. I will tell you this, across the district, even students struggle with science. I don't know why, because I really remember enjoying science when I was in school, but be that as it may, I've noticed. Now I can't speak to this pretty much across the county, aside from maybe some of the more affluent areas, you see students struggling with science. And I've asked some of the educators why. I haven't really gotten a definite answer, but it sounds like it may have something to do with the reading comprehension, which is something that we definitely would need to work on our students with. And to that point, I think that it would be great if as you as a board can maybe reach out to some of your local business owners to see if they're willing to support our schools by way of financial contributions, $100, $250, $1,000, $2,000, whatever, because that will help the schools kind of bridge some of the gaps they have in terms of resources, in terms of materials, pencils, paper, extra reading materials that we can give to the parents so they can help train their children at home so that we can see additional or greater increases in their aptitude scores. In fact, this summer, my plan is to raise at least $3,500 for every school in District 7 on my own. So if you do the math, that's a pretty substantial number. But I think we have to do substantial things right now, particularly with some of the legislation that's coming down from Tallahassee. It is making public education, the process of public education, much more difficult than it was in years past. So it's really all hands on deck, and we need the support of you, the elected officials here in Lake Worth Beach, and all the good people here behind me, and whoever may be watching me online, to kind of come to the front and kind of help us, because public education is really the best choice, and we have to fight to protect that without getting overly political right now. So that's my presentation. I will say this, if you have any questions for me or comments, or just want to sit down and talk with me, I'm always available. You can email me, and my email address is Edwin, and my name is spelled EDWIN .Ferguson, FERGUSON @palmbeachschools with an S.org. And you can always give my assistant a call. Her name is Miss Nina, Nina. And my phone number is 561-434-7481, 561-434-7481. So that's the extent of my presentation. I only have 2 schools, so it's kind of short, but if you all have any questions for me, I'm here and I'll answer any ones that I can. And thank you for having me. All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you. All right.
I do have some questions.
Oh, okay.
Certainly the things coming out of Tallahassee had a lot of effect on schools this particular session. What do you hear from teachers as far as enthusiasm for teaching, difficulties that they're running into, concerns about books, concerns about anything in any of those areas?
Well, that's been an ongoing, and I'm a former teacher myself, so we always have had concerns and complaints. It's kind of the nature of the business, but most teachers, I believe they're called to the profession. So even though you may be constricting their resources, they're still going to go on the front lines and fight for our babies. But yes, there was a concern. I remember early in November when I first was sworn into the seat, speaking with a fair number of teachers who had concerns about the book banning and things of that nature. Now, of course, there's a concern about whether their union, the CTA, is going to be decertified, and if so, how does that affect their bargaining power, obviously in regard to upcoming contracts that they may have to have authorized solely through the district versus having their arm at the bargaining table. School safety, to a person, I haven't heard anyone lament the fact that we're going to be installing metal detection devices. And I think that's an important point, Vice Mayor, because 4 years ago, when I initially ran for this seat against the then incumbent, there was a pretty loud opposition to my desire to have these in place because they said you were making schools like jail. As a former criminal defense attorney, I really don't do much anymore. I can tell you that jail is jail. I mean, the county jail is right down the street. Metal detection devices are pretty much at every governmental building that I can think of. I don't know if you all have them, but well, I guess maybe they'll be forthcoming, but the county courthouses all have metal detection devices. The county seat has metal detection devices. Pretty much everywhere you go, you have them. So I thought that was kind of erroneous. Teacher pay is still a concern, obviously. Now, we did do a decent job of increasing teacher pay this last negotiation cycle, but that's definitely something that I'm always going to advocate for. In fact, frankly, that was one of the reasons why I left as a young man, because I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, I'm being paid, this is 20 years ago, I'm being paid just under $30,000 with a college degree in business, my opportunity cost. My professor was just telling me about this 2 or 3 months ago. I think I'm going to go a different direction. So I believe that we are potentially losing or not even getting certain talent into the profession because the pay scale is still so low. So that's definitely something I've heard stated by teachers and administrators alike, but primarily from teachers in these first six months or so, sir.
Just real quick on the issue of the science scores, from what I've been hearing is that the extreme emphasis on testing creates a culture where teachers and some schools feel like they really have to teach only what they think is going to be tested at the end of the year. And I believe science isn't tested until fifth grade. So you have K through 4 where teachers are like prioritizing math and reading, and the science, unless it's integrated into the reading curriculum, it's just usually being left behind. So
Yep.
I feel like our kids deserve a very well-rounded curriculum. And now this is the first year that the testing has been pushed into K2, which is very concerning to me.
Yeah, the funny thing that you mentioned, which I forgot because these are only elementary schools. In middle school, we do test for social studies. Now, even though we don't test from elementary up through middle school, social studies scores generally are the highest. So it may be a little bit more than just we haven't been testing annually for that. But I do agree with you that this is a cycle that's happened since 2000 when I was in college. The over testing of students is kind of taking the intangible skills that these teachers have, is kind of putting it on the sideline and forcing them, like you said, okay, guys, we're gonna read these 10 pages. I don't care if you understand it or not. I got to read these 10 pages. Otherwise, I might not be here next year. So you're right. There definitely is a conflict of interest because of the legislation that we keep seeing shoved down our throats, if you will, from Tallahassee. So in that regard, I definitely encourage everybody to stay engaged from a civic standpoint. Get out and vote your conscience. That's really the only true elixir that I can see in the next 5 to 10 years to help kind of repeal some of these things that are happening. But it is more challenging, I will admit. But I'm happy to be here, and I know that many of our teachers are happy as well, and we're going to keep fighting the fight as long as we can. But thank you for that question.
Commissioner, yes?
I know, pay is always a challenge, and affordability is such a big challenge anywhere in Florida. But how's the staffing in both Barton and South Grade? Was it a job fair at all helpful?
I can't answer that specifically, Commissioner Diaz, but I will tell you that we have a substantial shortfall from teachers, bus drivers, and cafeteria workers. So I would assume that we also have similar shortfalls as Barton and South Grade, unfortunately.
Another thing to get on your radar, I know South Grade especially has a really unique challenge of needing interpreters and translators, not in Spanish and Creole, which are definitely needed, but there's many Central American languages that every time I'm in that school, it's a challenge. So just wanted to put that on your radar in terms of something that I know, that school, the principal and whatnot, they specifically ask for all the time.
Yes. Oh, and also, I'm sorry, everybody. I should have first said a hearty thank you to the town of town. I was just in Lake Park, and I know this is not a town, forgive me, the city of Lake Worth Beach. I carried this city overwhelmingly in the race, and Lake Worth Beach has always been very supportive of me and some of my platform issues. So I really want to thank the city for coming out and voting for me in a big way. not just in November, also in August, even though we went to a runoff. I don't think we get to the runoff without the support of Lake Worth Beach. So again, I appreciate you. I always keep you close at heart whenever I'm pushing forward different agenda items and things of that nature. So again, I want to thank you all for being so supportive of me, and I know I won't let you down here in the next 3 years.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening. Take care.
Thank you. Next up is a presentation by Maura Plant, founder and CEO of Living Hungry, brought forward by Commissioner Malega.
Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Okay. Hello, commissioners, Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Malaga. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you today. My name is Maura Plant, and I'm the founder and CEO of Living Hungry, and I'm presenting today as the founder of the Student Life Alliance, along with my two co-founders. This is Jennifer Smith, the CEO and founder of the Giving Closet Project, and Jackie Ermola, who is the head of Care Ministry. So together, we have formed the Student Life Alliance. So I want to talk to you today about one group. One group of students are always failing year after year. Most of these students fail this FSA exams we were just talking about. The same exams that are being taken today, right now, at Lake Worth Middle, where we were. For these kids, 2/3 of them fail. And these are not bad students. These are homeless students. Yet they get up for school every day, they dress up and they show up and they try their best to access their education, to learn and grow like the rest of their fellow students, those with homes. We're here to introduce you to these worthy kids and share what you can do, City of Lake Worth, to support their mighty efforts, like we did today. But we'll get to that. Okay. Good. What does homeless mean for students? Well, according to the McKinney-Vento Act of 2007, it means that students are living without a fixed, adequate, regular residence. Some are living on other people's sofas. Some share a one-bedroom apartment with another family. It's about 73% here. Some stay in motels, trailers, parks, campgrounds. That's 7%. Some are staying in shelters, 9%. Some stay in cars, parks, public spaces, abandoned buildings, and even under the bleachers, which is a true story. Some are with their family. Some are abandoned by their family. All migrant children are illegal aliens, are homeless. Wherever they stay in Lake Worth Beach, you have 509 of these students right now. This is as of May 5th, reported by the school district of Palm Beach County. Okay, so this is what it looks like at your schools. Okay. Your schools are showing your City of Lake Worth has had an issue here for a long time. These go back 2018, 19, 22, and 23 by school. So each of you also have a packet. This is like a report. We're not going to go intimately into the data. I just want to give you the top line. So looking back, some of your elementary school numbers have dropped while your middle school kids have doubled. That's because we think the kids are growing up. Actual data from the Palm Beach County School District. Is showing you that those kids living outside, around 5%, this is actual data from the youth data profile. That would make 26 kids out of your 506. Tonight, living in motels, 36 kids out of your 506. That means tonight, 62 Lake Worth kids are either unsheltered or in motels or cycling back and forth as the money allows. The first thing that happens after sleeping in your car is no sleep. You hustle to get clean clothes and running low on gas. You didn't make it to school again today. Attendance suffers. 2 weeks is lost on average for these homeless students. If you give kids what they need, clean clothing, uniforms, laundered, hygiene kits, feminine hygiene products, food packs, gas cards, attendance improves. Okay. Academics suffer. In fact, only 32% pass the English FSA and only 37% pass the math FSA. This means 2 out of 3 of our homeless students showing up every day still fail at math, still fail at their English. Why? Well, homeless children have specific needs. These are not being met by their parents, not the schools, not the community, because they often choose not to identify themselves for fear of DCF removing these children from the family. Yet 95% get promoted to the next grade year after year. Academics improve with proper nutrition, meals over the weekend, less bullying with cleanliness and backpacks and school supplies, mentoring programs and camps. There's help. Oop. Oop. Health suffers next. What happens when your basic needs are unmet? We met a homeless teenager today. We're going to call her Maria. She was 13 years old, and we met her at Lake Worth Middle today, and she loved her brand new pink sneakers. Okay. She's still going to school while living in her car. She has interrupted sleeps, no breakfast, no nutrition. That's a tough day to get up and face another day. This is compounded by the likelihood of physical violence, bullying, sex by 13 years old, and that adds up to depression, feeling unsafe, suicidal thoughts. Health can be restored when we use fuel up packs like food is medicine, motel stays from family support, and the case management work that we do. LGBTQIA plus suffer. 15% of these LGBTQ students said they've slept away from home, kicked out, abandoned. We care. We show these kids that they're supported by our simple gifts to keep them going to school. So our homeless students in Lake Worth, all 509 of them, they get up every day, come to school, no matter what uphill climb they have to be personally on. These mighty ones overcome tired, focus challenges, hunger, colds, behavioral problems, academic delays, academically falling behind. A lot of them are not diagnosed for learning disorders, and they are more likely to be suspended. After all that work to graduate, only 1 in 4 make it. But there is hope. Here we go. Lake Worth Middle. Here's some of your Lake Worth Middle School kids. We gave them all socks at Christmas. That's what these smiles are for. New socks. Who are we? We are the Student Life Alliance. We're a group of over 50 agencies and organizations who care about our local students and their well-being. We see a future where kids and teens experiencing trauma have all the support they need. Here we are, providing life supports to those kids, and here we are speaking for them in this unpredictable world. Our group is got a fiscal agent of the Education Foundation. Okay. This is a list. So we have different groups participating, like Adopt a Family, Lord's Place, Book Helping Hands, Catholic Charities, the Delray Beach Initiative to End Homelessness, Delray Library, Elks, Family Promise, Hospitality Helping Hands. The Palm Beach County is one of our partners, Stand Down, Education Foundation, Cisco, Vita Nova, on and on and on. So what do we do? Oh, we did it already. Okay, back. We meet the needs. From our 12 most wanted list, from our joint 30 years of asking and hearing what do kids and families need, we've come up with this list of supplies. We do food, we do school supplies, we do uniforms and clothing, hygiene kits, sneakers, gas, gift cards, even a Florida state ID so they can get a job. We just did this at Lake Worth Beach Middle School this morning with Commissioner Maliga and Commissioner Diaz. 102 packs went out the door and they were handed to needy kids. Oops. New summer clothing, getting them ready, new shoes, new hygiene kits, new books, journals, pens, pencils. All of that was about $10,000 from these partners, the Giving Closet Project and Jacob's Shoes, Living Hungry. Mr. Coons was a big funder to help us complete the whole set. And every kid got their favorite new shoes and summer clothes ready for summer. So we thank you, the 2 commissioners, for showing up. We really appreciate you being with us. And we've accomplished this same collaboration 10 times in 10 months, we've reached 3,000 kids together. And we alone provide the support to homeless children identified as McKinney-Vento, which is about 1/3 in their schools. And then the unidentified homeless students, which we get referral from other other counselors and other partners in the community, because they really don't want DCF to come in and tear up their families. One founding partner of ours is the Giving Closet Project. Okay. This team has served 2,000 needy students in Palm Beach County this school year alone, and their data results show 26% are homeless. The rest fail to identify or have a home or suffer from neglect. Okay. So you can see her breakdown by ethnicity, and you can see how many kids are homeless versus gender and their grades. So those clothes today were all carefully packed and hand selected by size, by type. Someone likes pink, and that all happens at her beautiful hub site in Riviera Beach. When you're ready, you can come see it with us. Okay.
Thank you. That's time.
Oh, can we finish?
We're okay with extending a little bit? Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, how do these families end up homeless? Case management. One teen was living in her car. She wasn't safe at home. One elderly grandmother and grandfather were raising 20 grandchildren. This is in our close neighborhood, in one neat and orderly home due to opioid addicted parents who were their kids. One mother with an 8-year-old is evicted after landlord takes rent and allows foreclosure on that house. These are true stories, and we hear them in our case management team. Listening, coming alongside, and supporting in all of these areas through our network of relationships makes a huge difference for these families. First, you have to get to know the family, and everyone is different and no two are the same. Okay, so one of the things that we're recommending is you think about a task force, a Lake Worth homeless task force. And in this, you can connect people to services. Ideas and systems come to life when you listen to actually needs met and other people and how they meet them. Sources of help arise, and the Student Life Alliance can match these sources and offer supplies until you guys get that whole system going. We have one in Lake Worth, in Delray, with the police, the clergy, the city staff, churches, community-based organizations, library, health clinics, soup kitchens, the clerk of courts, food pantries, farm share, housing. Like I said, you can build a task force around supporting the homeless. Okay. Erica Whitfield is a school board member who has been participating with us for a long time. So here she is talking about us. But also she and I, along with many others, have been working on feeding, and 292 kids are fed, and a lot from her pushing. Okay. 262 in your community are not fed. The Student Life Alliance offers those 12 most needed items from all of our different partners for under $1,000 per child. So this is what we're recommending. We think that you can meet Lake Worth's homeless students' needs if you activate. Build a mayor's homeless task force to find and connect people to services. You can hire us to feed your unfed homeless children on the weekends. Your academics will improve. And you can hire us again to equip and clothe the 384, and your attendance will improve. And as you build out, we're here to support you build out. So as your community comes together and all your organizations come together, we're here to ride alongside of you guys until you're flying, and then we move on to the next city. We're also working with Boynton Beach in a similar way. So when you take the bottommost scoring children in our schools and you turn this situation around, this is one enormous boost. Your impact will directly change attendance and academics. You can help them show up to school with clothes, socks, underwear, hygiene kits, gas, bus passes. It's simple. You can help students learn better and attend better school by meals and snacks and backpacks and books and school supplies and internet bills. There is hope. You are the hope. We'd like to partner with you to get there. Thank you.
Thank you. The Lake Worth middle principal is here in the room, and can we introduce her? And thank you for everything you did today in partnering with with this amazing organization. The lives that were touched today with Commissioner Diaz and I watching was just, it was amazing.
Well, good evening, everybody. You can tell I work in a middle school. And I'm not shy about talking to people. But I want to first thank these lovely ladies and you all, the commissioners, for coming out today. Where you created some very happy kids. I have, I think, the largest middle school homeless population on my campus. And I love my kids. And it doesn't matter where they came from or how they got there. It matters that we meet them where they are and we bring them to the education that we know makes a difference in their futures. So I am the keeper of them. And I am just 27 days old there. I am the interim principal, and I am going to be very upfront with you that I am hoping that I get to remain there. I am falling totally in love with the children. I am what they say, she's everywhere. But I think that that's important that they see me, that they know I'm serious about their education, that I increase the accountability for all of us. Me as the principal, the teachers, every single one of the kids, and the parents. We are all a part of their success. And so every single day I get up and I go there and I'm super excited. And the kids are like, why are you always so happy? And I'm so happy because I have an opportunity to contribute to their success. And so I'm here tonight because I want to partner with you all. This is our city. I don't live in Lake Worth, but my mom lives on A Street. And I just am completely, totally passionate about the fact that our kids deserve the very best that every other kid gets in Palm Beach County. Okay. There is a difference between a Boca school and the East Lake Worth school. But my kids deserve everything they have and more, because our kids were not born on third base. Our kids were born in the dugout. Our kids were born outside the field sometimes. And that's okay. That is absolutely okay. But every day when they come to Lake Worth Middle School, I need to be prepared. And my preparation creates intentionality in the teachers and the instruction that is delivered there every single day. And with that, my kids can feel my passion for them and the teacher's passion, and we will fight together to improve our test scores, to get off the BS and I list, and we won't be on there long. I guarantee you, we will not be on there long, and our kids will be performing. As the data is showing already, we have almost all plus signs. That means every subgroup, every area is going up and improving already. And so with all the things that I've already started meetings for next year, this year the theme is finish strong. And we're going to do that. We're going to have the news there only for positive reasons. Only for positive reasons. And we are going to raise the bar next year because that's the theme. So I want to thank you. I have a laundry list of things I want, but I'm a shopper. So what I will do is I will vow that I will come back to City Hall and to your meetings and ask you for what we need, and partner with you. I'm going to teach my kids not only to receive, but also to give. So there is a service component in our school that we will be raising funds for the Ronald McDonald House. We have to collect tabs. And so those tabs translate into money. My kids might not have money, but they might find tabs, right? And we can drop those tabs and help someone else. I think that is important to serve. No matter where you come from, no matter what you have, what you don't have, it is important to serve. And so each one of you are here tonight, even you all, to serve our community. That's why you're here. And so it is important to serve, and I want to instill that also in our kids. So thank you so much for the time that you've given me. Thank you so much for the blessings that you gave to our kids today. It's more than we could ask for, and so much appreciated. And thank you also for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Before you head out, just two quick questions, and maybe for the principal as well. One is, you mentioned in the presentation, the issue of, as you give certain things, it helps prevent bullying. How do you do your presentation of things without it being obvious to all the students and putting a stigma on the students?
Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer. I'm the founder and CEO of the Giving Closet Project. Former teacher, 15 years inner city in Duval County. And when I started the Giving Closet Project, I saw a huge increase in student homelessness. I had students living out of their cars, and here I was, a teacher, now washing clothes for some of my students that were living out of trash bags in the parking lot. So when I started the Giving Closet Project in 2016, I wanted to make sure everything was done with dignity and done discreetly, because there is a stigma attached to homelessness and people don't want it, flash. Here we are, here's a picture. So I created an online referral system. So teachers, counselors, social workers, case managers, family liaisons, and other social service agencies, they submit a referral. They work with the families. So we're not open to the public. It has to come from a school or a social service agency. And so the online referrals come in, and then with that, we get their style preferences, whether they need uniforms, casual clothing, or a combination of both. What the need is, if they are homeless, if it's a house fire, we'll do emergency appointments to get them in sooner. So basically we'll fill all the referrals, and then the case managers will pick up. If we do deliver to schools, typically we will drop them off at the school counselor's office, and then parents will come and pick up, or it'll be done after school. Never will a student get their bag right in the classroom where they'll have to take it home on a bus with them. So we're very cautious and intentional with how we deliver the care packages to students.
Great. Good to hear.
We do. I just want to add to that. We do food, and in the same way, we trust the counselors. We work with those people in the school, so have the relationship with the kids, and the food goes discreetly in the bags, and no one needs to know. Today was a special day because there are so many needy kids at this school that when you arrive with 102 personalized care packages, they're all tied with a bow. Okay. It wasn't a needy thing. It was a have a wonderful summer thing. So everything is done with that particular care in mind.
My other question for you, particularly in our community, I think you're probably all aware of Senate Bill 1718 and its effects on folks that don't have normal documentation and the families. Are you prepared? That goes into effect July 1st.
No.
Did I hear a no?
Yeah, excuse me. My car's in Jeff Coons. Okay. No, you're not going to be prepared. Okay. In 2000, when Trump was there, I was involved in some of the schools. You had parents leave to go back to Mexico. The kids are born in America. They were left here. Okay. It's going to be a crisis in a couple of months right here. There are already people moving away, and it's going to happen. It's going to be the kids are going to be affected. Okay. So it's going to be really ugly in Lake Worth in the next couple of months. I'm just going to talk. It's just going to get really ugly and those kids, I mean, you had something like this that happened a couple of years ago. They took a lot of men that were, day workers. Families were stuck here for a long time. Was emergency food situations with them. I work in access to food. So it's going to get really ugly. That's kind of why we're here. And a lot of agencies that serve those kids in your community, but the Catholics, the Episcopalians, who knows what they're going to be allowed to do. Anyway, that's an editorial comment. I did have a card in too.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very concerned about that too.
We have a partnership with Found Care, which is a FQHC clinic, and they're already receiving cancellations for the appointments because people are leaving the state.
Yeah.
So we're definitely going to see some change. For us, the way we work is we love them all. Okay. No matter where they come from, and none of it's their fault. And so we serve them all. There is no child will be returned away.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing.
Okay.
Next up, presentation of certificate of appreciation to Matthew Wanless, Chair and President of the Palm Beach Junior Advisory Board, for his leadership and volunteerism to the community. Is Matthew here? Ah, there he is. Great. Let's see what we- this one. 30 minutes. All right. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what
Yes.
you've been doing?
Yes, I will.
All right.
All right, so first, thank you to the City Commission for the recommendation of the donations and food you provided to the Guatemalan Maya community on Global Service Day. On this day of service, the Junior Advisory Board of Joshua's Heart Foundation in Palm Beach distributed 6,101.54 pounds of food, or 3,050 meals, to 182 families in need. We also distributed 1,638 toiletries of combs, toothbrushes, toothpaste, Q-tips, shampoo, and conditioner. And we had the pleasure of participating in Global Service Day for the past 3 years here in Lake Worth. We continue to find the community kind and caring. And thank you again for this recognition as we work toward stomping out hunger and reducing the cycle of poverty.
Thank you. And next up, we have a proclamation declaring May 21st to 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. I saw Jamie earlier. There he is, right there. Anybody would like to read it? Go for it. All right. Proclamation, whereas public works infrastructure, facilities and service are of vital importance to the health, safety, and well-being of the people of this community. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and services, such as water, sewers, stormwater management, streets and highways, public buildings and grounds, parks, solid waste collection, and waste processing. And yes, there will be a quiz. And whereas the quality, safety, and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, and construction, is vitally dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works personnel. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works departments is materially influenced by people's attitudes and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas the American Public Works Association has selected Connecting the World Through Public Works as its theme for 2023's National Public Works Week. Sentence ends kind of funny. From disposing of solid waste to building roads and bridges, or planning for and implementing mass transit, public work services determines a society's quality of life. Communities depend on public works, and the men and women of the profession are always there and always ready. Now, therefore, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, does, by virtue of the authority vested in her and on behalf of the City Commission, proclaim May 21st to 27th, 2023 as National Public Works Week. In witness thereof, she has set her hand and caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach to be affixed the 16th day of May, today, 2023. Can we get a picture of you? I assume you'll see this on behalf of all of the members. I shall. You're up front minute. Our next proclamation is proclamation declaring May 22nd to 29th, 2023 as National Beach Safety Week. And Commissioner Malega will read that one.
Awesome, here we go. Proclamation, whereas the beautiful coastal and inland beaches of Lake Worth Beach represent a world-renowned recreational resource. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach residents and visitors alike are drawn to these beaches by the millions each year for water and beach activities. And whereas the aquatic environment has dangers, particularly rip currents, that can be effectively managed through public awareness and the vigilance of professional lifeguards. Whereas for reasons of public safety, an annual reminder of the joys of and hazards associated with the aquatic environment are appropriate at the commencement of the busy summer beach season. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach residents and visitors alike must remember, learn to swim, swim near a lifeguard, swim with a buddy, check with lifeguards, use sunscreen, and drink water. Obey posted signs and flags, keep the beach and water clean, learn rip current safety, and enter water feet first, and wear a life jacket. Now, therefore, Betty Rush, the mayor of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in her on behalf of the commission, did hereby proclaim May 22nd to 29th, 2023 as National Beach Safety Week in the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, and urge all residents using our beach to enjoy themselves at the beach this year while taking appropriate measures to protect themselves and their children. In witness whereof she has unto set her hand and caused the seal of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida to be affixed the 16th day of May, 2023. Thank you all for your hard work. And summary of the highest bar.
Okay, let me test this out. Okay. Just a quick moment. Good evening, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. For the record, Lauren Bennett, Director of the best department in the city, just kidding, the Leisure Services Department. Sorry, I had to throw it out there. My crew's here tonight. We're going to be talking about the 2023 Lake Worth Beach Street Painting Festival. I would have done this sooner, but it took a little while for me to take the gumption to talk about this event because it took so much work. But I'll wait for Anthony to bring it back up. Okay, so not only is this Lake Worth Beach's premier special event, it is a Palm Beach County signature event, which is huge for this event to have this status because this event is just so massive. This year we had over 600 artists. They make this festival possible. That's what this entire event is about. It had over 200 unique pieces of artwork created across 2 days. And it over 37 featured artists. Those are the professional artists. That's the work that you see up here. They're all over the state, the nation, and I even had international artists this year. So it is getting out there. This event, thank you, Ben. I got to give credit. Ben made this fancy. We had the best safety partners, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and Fire Rescue. When the city took over this event, the first thing we did was dissect it to talk about public safety because that's the environment, unfortunately, that we live in. Behind the scenes, we spent months talking about safety plans. If this scenario happens, this is what we're going to do.
if this scenario happens, this is what we're going to do. And we went over it multiple times. Everyone was just perfectly in sync. I can tell you as an event staff, this is what keeps you up at night. A lot of us lost a lot of sleep talking about these plans. So I just want to give a shout out to Fire Rescue and PBSO because they really helped to make the event feel safe, even when you couldn't see what was going on behind the scenes. The dream team. So there's only a handful of Lake Worth Beach employees and volunteers that make this festival possible while continuing to manage their regular roles in the city. And I just want to emphasize that because not one ball was dropped. You would never know that the same staff who's helping save you on the beach is also helping us plan a street painting festival. And I know they're going to kill me, but I'm going to call them all up here because this is what this presentation is really about, recognizing them and how much they really mean to me in the city. So my team, if you could please stand up, I would like to announce who you are to the whole group. So I have Emmerich Jeancombe, he's our special events manager. Chris Hanna, he's our park superintendent. Zacharias Davis, he's our assistant special events coordinator. Doug Yoakum, he's our aquatics manager. Xavier DeSalis, he's our new captain of Ocean Rescue. I have Chief of Ocean Rescue, Matt Botts. I have Mike Pierce. I know he's not going to stand up, so stand up, Mike. He's the Assistant Director of Public Works. I have Cindy Martin. She is our sponsorship coordinator. Not here is Greg Jarrett. He's our recreation program coordinator, and Ben Kerr, who's getting ready to have a baby. So they're with us in spirit. But my heavy hitters, I do want to give a shout out to Chris, Greg, Mike Pierce, Emmerich, and especially Ben. They spent a lot of countless hours working on this event with me. So thank you very much. All right. So obviously, I have to thank our sponsors this year. The same team that puts on this event also works with Cindy to sell it. So we had 63 sponsors investing over $250,000 of cash/in-kind sponsorship there, which is huge considering we've only taken it over for year 2. I want to thank the commission for sponsoring. The support from the dais, not only just on street painting, means a lot to us as staff. And having you guys support this event just kind of spread the message that you guys have our back as staff. So thank you. Attendee feedback. This was huge. We did an intercept survey this year and it was mind blowing. So 59% of the visitors came from out of the county just to visit our event. 43% were first time attendees. And this is what solidified how amazing our team is. 97% gave 4 or 5-star reviews. Huge. Joe Capozzi actually sent me a poll taken around Sunfest time, which is what I placed on your desks. It actually shows Lake Worth Beach Street Painting Festival being preferred if they had to choose one outdoor event. So we outdid Sunfest, Delray Fair, a huge number of events. So that green bar is street painting. We were very proud of that. Oh, also, we gave you guys Street Painting Festival fans because we know you make heated decisions up here. So we wanted you to stay cool.
With hot air, right?
No, sir. The economic impacts. This is what we really did the survey for. This event brings in $4.1 million. 2.7 is directly to the city. 96,000 in taxes were generated, and it made over 1,600 jobs in 2 days. One of our local businesses made in one day of the festival what it takes them an entire week to make. So this event leads way beyond that. Each party visiting the event spent $55.60, whether it be at one of our local businesses or at one of the vendors. Artist feedback. So we surveyed our artists as well. It was amazing to read what they had to say. What an incredible experience they had, how organized it was, the check-in, it was excellent. I did highlight a few. The whole event was great. I love that I felt like the team was in charge and they had our back. Well-run festival and the crowd was great. The best organized festival we've ever been to. One of them said, I was very happy with my experience this year. It was my 10th year. I started when I was 17, and this was the most organized event it's ever been. And then finally, I had an email from one of our featured artists. It's a husband and wife. They've been doing chalk festivals for 20 years, and they said this is the best organized event that they've ever been to in their 20 years. So just to brag about our team for a minute. So there's, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but we did an extensive amount of media coverage, so much so that Ben and I were running out of different angles to tell the media people. As you can see, we did the shining a light. So Ben and I were up along with Miss Cindy at 2 a.m. to do a whole slew of morning interviews with T.A. Walker. And then I'm really excited for this one. The video that's playing is going to air in July. We filmed with Passport Publications with Discover the Palm Beaches. This is going to air in every single Palm Beach County hotel.
Okay, good move.
Oh, and American Destination. So a national channel, putting us on the map even more. Just a few challenges, staff time. There's a lot of us wearing multiple hats at the time that this planning takes place. I start really as soon as the festival ends around October. I really have to unplug. So it takes a lot of time for my team to pull their own weight so I can unplug. And a lot of them are balancing planning their own time, family, and then helping me with this event. Pop-up vendors. We had a lot of safety issues with pop-up vendors this year. And the event space. This is like a good and a bad. Not this year, but next year we are going to be, or the year after, we're going to be running out of space. That's how big it's getting. And we already had a wait list this year. I'm anticipating a wait list next year. We had so many people coming up to us asking how they could get involved. All right, save the dates. The 30th annual this year, it's already underway. We've been talking about how we're going to celebrate 30 years. 24th and 25th, it's going to be bigger, better, and chalkier. So really proud of my team. I just wanted to do this to say thank you to them. Couldn't do it without them. Oh, sorry. One more. Thank you. I would have walked away. There is one member of our community that I would like to highlight. When we took this event over the first year, we knew the logistics. So where did the porta potties go? Yeah, we got that covered. Everything else was a big fat question mark. And there was one volunteer I remember who was always at street painting with us, just charging the way. So I reached out to Miss Ramsey McLeod. And she has been instrumental since day one. She's jumped right in. She's an honorary member of our staff. She's at every single logistics meeting. We could not do this event without her. So I'm going to have Emmerich present this to her because he helped make this and he wrote it. So Emmerich, do you want to present this to her?
Oh, yeah.
So we just want to say thank you to her because she's been so instrumental in helping us with this event. You want to read it?
So we proudly present Ramsey, how you say it? McLeod, in recognition of outstanding performance, superior dedication, and positive attitude while volunteering throughout the past years in the City of Lake Worth Beach's annual Street Painting Festival, with heartfelt appreciation from the City of Lake Worth Beach.
Cool. All yours.
I'm so honored. Thank you
So much.
Yeah.
I'm shooting 360. I just cleared the room for y'all.
All right. Congratulations. And with that, let's move on to commission liaison reports and comments. And why don't we start with District 4? Mr. Diaz.
All right. Gosh, where do I start? A lot has happened. Last weekend, I had the pleasure of attending the MPOAC Weekend Institute, which is a long acronym. It's Municipal Planning Organization. Of course, I'm on the governing board of the Palm Beach TPA, and basically it was a really interesting kind of education session, learning about legislative history of why municipal planning organizations work, but the grit of it is learning, and I know Jamie really knows this well, the for lack of a better description, hyper complexity to fund the repair of our roads. Um, it's really complicated, obviously, a lot of sources of funding, and it was really helpful to get a better understanding to navigate that so that we can, speaking of public works, to help get the funds that are desperately needed to address so much of our infrastructure woes. So that was really helpful. I have a TPA governing board meeting this week as well. But something that also stands out, something unrelated to infrastructure. Right now, if you go to our library, and especially in the party room, you'll see 3 planters there that I was able to donate to schools. Now, all 4 of our schools got them: Barton, South Grade, North Grade, and Highland. 3 of those schools put together a display, and so those planters are in the party room that you can see. They're really beautiful. They're super cute. They're all made by kids, and it's heavy emphasis on pollinator gardens. One of them is regarding food plants. Really cool. And then and you have a chance now, if you visit the library, to vote on which one you like. And at the end of the week, the winner will have Lake Worth Waterkeeper come out and do an activity with those students. Knowing how I operate, though, probably all 3 will get that at some point. But at the end, they get to we'll deliver the planters back to the schools, and they get to do what they can with them. So yeah, be sure not to miss that. Our library always has loads of things going on, and that's a fun one that you can vote on this week. And I think that's about, we did the thing this morning. That was, the more I do that kind of work and the more I understand, the need to just feed people and just absolute basic necessities. It's, if you have the time, I always encourage people to volunteer and to do that kind of work, because you really come away with a different perspective on some of the struggles that our community faces. I mean, you just saw the numbers in the presentation: 509 students are houseless in Lake Worth, and that translates to how many people total, if it's their families included, so much more. Always encourage people to step up where they can. We're lucky in this town to have so many good organizations that kind of tackle that work. And I'm sure, like many nonprofits, they're always, will appreciate volunteers. So yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Commissioner Coach?
I just wanted to send a reminder. Unfortunately, I cannot go tomorrow night, but Lake Worth High School's graduation is tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at the fairgrounds. So I know that they would appreciate community support. So anybody that can make it out there would be great. I had my first monthly meetup in the library room last week, and it was, I think, pretty well attended for the first one. Different people there able to voice their concerns and talk about some things they've been hearing. And the next one will be June 22nd from 5 to 6 in the library. And then we also had an event, thank you to, I know Lauren already left, and her staff, last Saturday at Spillway Park, where we were able to talk to different residents throughout the city, and especially in District 3, to find out what it is that they want to see happen at that park. And I think we can start to plan a way to make sure that everybody can use the park in a good way. The main thing that I heard was, if we're going to add children, like playground equipment for the children, let's also have a fenced in area for the dogs, because dogs and children might not always mix that well if you don't have a place for those dogs to run off leash. So I think we'll try to take that into consideration. And the Audubon Society had their field trip there that morning, and there were a lot of people out there watching birds, and got a lot of good feedback. And we'll be working with Lauren's team to put together some plans for that park, and then try to come up with some funding sources for that. So that's about it.
Okay. All right. I'll keep mine real short today. Last week, on Friday, my wife and I were able to attend Hispanos Unidos contra el Odio, un foro en español, Latinos United Against Hate. This was an event organized or sponsored essentially by Greg Weiss, one of our county commissioners and county mayor, and his assistant Virginia Salviata said, you know, an event was done earlier in the year in English, and she felt it was very important to follow that up with one in Spanish. So there were a lot of leaders from the Latino community there, an excellent panel, a rabbi, a priest, an attorney from here in town, who's been active on human rights issues, and professor from Palm Beach State College. A range of perspectives. Helman Reese from one of the radio stations was a very good moderator. And one of the messages was, this is a very serious problem. Hate speech has definitely increased over the last several years. A statistic that one of our residents, an attorney, presented that was pretty shocking to all of us was how many prosecutions of hate crimes do you think have happened in the last 2 years in Florida? 0. Think about that one. We may have some good laws against hate speech, but we are not doing a good job of prosecuting on them, which is pretty striking. Very concerned with along the same lines as the question I asked the group earlier with Senate Bill 1718, that is going to have a very strong influence in our community. And I hope that all of our residents will be thinking about that and compassion and thinking about the influence this is going to have on homeless children, on homeless families, on families that don't have the full documentation that one might like, but that work hard in our community, pay taxes in our community, but will be in a very difficult situation come July 1st.
That saddens me. So it has been a busy week. The mayor and I toured the new Burkle Place on Federal Highway and the shell of Burkle Place 3. It's getting near completion. They're waiting for more items. I think they're on back order for windows and doors before they can continue the rest of the interior. But there were a lot of tours. I had them scheduled throughout the day. The county commissioner, Mayor Greg Weiss, was there at the same time we were. I know the county commissioner, Mac Bernard, would attend it. And it's a really cool program. It is multi-generational. I don't know if a lot of people remember, but it's something that I know that some of us got some heat for approving it and standing behind the project. But I think that we're all going to be very happy when we see it come to fruition. I attended the CRE meeting last week. It was 29 minutes from the time they went and did roll to the time it was adjourned. It was unbelievable. But they did approve 2 business grant applications. So that was good for businesses in town. I also attended the Housing Heroes Luncheon last week, and I'm very proud to say that the city of Lake Worth Beach and our CRA were both nominated for housing awards this year. We didn't get them, but we were the only municipality, you guys, that were on the big screen as even being nominated. And all the county commissioners were there, Representative Pelosi was there. So I was happy to see our name up there in front of all these electeds, because when we need money, they can remember they saw our name. So that was a good event. The next night, I went to the Heart of Champions Award with United Way. Our very own Miss Reggie and For the Children received the Community Champion of the Year Award. So that was really good to see recognition of all the hard work that Miss Reggie and For the Children does. Went to the Historical Board Awards. That was very brief, and they did a great presentation. I think next time we should all be invited though, because it was on social media. It's the only way I knew about it. And I showed up like 5 minutes late, and then it was over within 10 minutes. But it was really nice to see the architects and the designers and the builders who were recognized by the historical board and by staff, I think. The Lake Worth Middle thing today was really good. The only thing I have on the horizon is Monday is Pineapple Beach Neighborhood Association meeting. I've been asked to be the guest speaker there. And Wednesday night, next Wednesday, is Whispering Palms Neighborhood Association meeting as well. And then hopefully the calendar will be clear for the rest of the week. One more thing. Wait. I'm sorry. And this was sent to me by a local. I don't know if many of you remember Ben, who used to be part of the fabric of the city of Lake Worth Beach. There is a filmed in and around Lake Worth Beach. The mayor of J Street tells the story of Benny Geronimo. Through his struggles with bipolar disorder, Benny chose a life of living on the streets, talking with people. It's going to be on the 27th at 6:30 on WPBT and on the 28th at 9:30 p.m. on WXEL. So I think that'll be great for everybody to tune in and watch.
Good documentary. Two things, a reminder of what Commissioner Stokes mentioned, that Wednesday is the high school graduation out at the fairgrounds. I believe we're supposed to be there at 6. So I understand some people have conflict, but hopefully we'll be represented. Anybody from the city is more than welcome to attend.
Actually, you have to have tickets to get in. If you don't have tickets, you can't get in. Yeah, I think that sucks. I think each kid only got 5 tickets or something.
Clarification. Thank you. And on Thursday night, I believe at 5:30, we will have a flag raising in front of City Hall. It is the 18th of May is Haitian Flag Day, independence of Haiti. So there will be a flag raising here in front of City Hall on Thursday. All right. We are now on to the city manager's report.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Don't have any report. I just want to thank you for allowing me to be in Mississippi. I'm here working, celebrating, and packing all at the same time as I attend 3 of my children's graduations while here. So sorry I'm not there, but I am certainly here and in full swing and operation. So thank you all, and some exciting presentations today.
The mayor is in the house.
Oh, hello, Mayor.
I'm sorry, this presentation was so.
I'm sorry that Lauren has left because I wanted to tell her how impressed I was with her presentation of the Street Painting Festival. Is Ramsey still here? I love you, girl. I had no idea you were like, congratulations. I'm so glad that you got that recognition, and the recognition, of course, to our fire rescue. I'm not going to make any comments because I'm late anyway, so I'll be quiet.
And you can, for public participation.
Oh, good.
Well, Vice Mayor, if I can say one thing, I do want to thank Jamie Brown, our interim assistant city manager, for holding down the fort while I'm away, working, celebrating, and packing.
I have told Carmen I'm going to leave her alone so she can get things done. And if she sees my number on her ID, something is on fire.
Thank you, Jamie.
All righty, where are we? Public participation of non-agenda items. Do we have cards? Yes. Let me just see. Is there golf carts on sidewalk? This is non-agenda. Okay, Morgan Kellner. Thank you, this is for non-agenda.
Hi. Hi. Am I supposed to give my name and address?
Name and address, yep.
Morgan Kellner, 2528 Boundbrook Drive, South in West Palm Beach.
Go ahead.
So, I testified last month at the city council meeting, and I'm testifying for the same reason tonight. That, I don't mean to rain on the Paint Street, the Chalk Street Festival. It's great. I attend it every year. This year, it was not a good experience because what happened was, and this is a repetition from last month, but I have some questions, was that my friend and I were having breakfast on February 26th, and a city golf cart went on the sidewalk and maneuvered its way in between a pole and our table, knocked over the table, knocked over my friend. we're dealing with almost 3 months later, where she still is needing medical treatment, and her daily life activities have still been impacted. So I am advocating that the city seriously take up the question of why you are allowing golf carts on the city sidewalks. And I feel like I've asked this question before. So part of my friend ended up that day, which is why I didn't experience the festival. It was nice to see the pictures up there because I didn't get to experience it. She ended up in the hospital, leaving in an ambulance. So 3 months later, we're still dealing with a lot of issues. Her issues that have been kind of traumatic, and they're serious injuries. So the first question I have is this council taking this issue seriously? And if it is, what is being done? And I don't know how to get an answer to this question if this happens here, or how do I get an answer to this question?
And we don't normally respond to public comments, but you're asking just a direct question. We know who you're talking about, and she's a wonderful person, and it is heartbreaking that happened. We can't from up here give you, advice on what's going on with the question. I think I'm going to ask Jamie to just do a follow-up. And if you'll give Jamie your phone number, write it on this blue card. Jamie's our assistant director, our sister city manager. Just given this, they'll still have your name, and just write your phone number on the card. And he'll follow up with our city attorney, and we understand it was a terrible situation.
Well, it was a terrible situation, and I guess I wanted to know if there is conversation about it.
We can't have that conversation.
And we can't have that conversation.
Right. That's
So,
why I've directed you to Jamie.
okay. The second part is that I looked up in the Florida statutes, and it's what the law is. So I quote, "In the eyes of Florida law, street legal golf carts are considered low-speed vehicles and are not allowed to be driven on sidewalks or bike paths." This is Florida law. It's online. Maybe there's a contradiction or an exception. So my second question is, why is the city of Lake Worth not complying with Florida law?
Again, I can't answer that.
I just want it on the record. It's not a hypothetical. This is Florida state law. The city cart was the one that caused a lot of damage. And it's a legitimate question of why the city is not following Florida state law. So
thank you. That's time.
That's
3 minutes. That's your time.
Okay. Thank you very much once again for listening to my tale of woe.
Yeah, thank you. No, listen, she's a fabulous person. Todd Townsend.
Hi, Todd. Hi, Todd Townsend, 502 South J Street. I just wanted to reiterate the idea of that we really could use a pocket park in our downtown. We've already got a place that's pretty much set up for it. That's at K and First Avenue. That would look really, really good next to the new parking area at K Street also. And so I just wanted to invite the commission to actually sit down with Mr. Waters and actually rewrite the zoning right there, like the mayor had mentioned. We need to have that area for parking, and then offset that with a pocket park right next to it. And then in that same block, we should put this house at 17 South M Street right there, unlocking some 50 more spaces for new paving behind the all the stores on Lake Ave, and selling that house right there. Removing that house to that space and then selling it would actually pay for all of the parking to be done. So that's all I wanted to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Greg Richter left a card it's about, it seems like it's about the micro units, non-agenda, and he just crossed against. So that's Mr. Richards' comment on micro units right now. Peggy Fisher, and after that, Mr. Jones.
Peggy Fisher, 508 North A Street. Regarding the street painting festival, I think we need to also say thank you to Aaron and Bo Allen, who were the original creators.
And then the Webbers.
And who were the original creators of the street painting festival, which will be celebrating its 30th year anniversary. Also, Commissioner Malega was selected as a recipient of the 2023 Home Rule Hero Award by the Florida League of Cities. And I think somewhere in this meeting that should be acknowledged that our own commissioner received this award for her work to the city. So for me, thank you very much. Now I have a generic comment about our advisory boards. It's not addressed to any particular board. Advisory boards. This is in general. Looking online, there are a number of boards that don't have minutes posted. Whether it is because the meeting never took place because they didn't have a quorum, as happened last week to the Historical Resources Preservation Board, it's not indicated. It would be nice if somehow on that list of board meeting dates, there's a way to indicate if a board meeting actually didn't take place. Also, someone in the board membership should be the secretary. We shouldn't have the liaison from the city also have to be the secretary for any of our boards. Some of our boards like P&Z and the Historic Preservation have someone who actually does that because of the status of the board. Also, it's unfortunate that we have such a significant board as the Historic Preservation Resources Board not have a quorum. That impacts not just that board, it impacts the people who were supposed to come before that board to get approval for their projects. And that should have been known before that night when only 2 people showed up. And those residents should have known that they weren't going to have to be postponed. So I would encourage somehow the city to make more regulations about notification, about absentees, and why we have a board as significant as that and only have 2 members show up for a scheduled meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, which gives me an opportunity to shout out to the world. We need people to come forward on boards. We need people to, in the future, run for election, not now, but really, citizen involvement is so important. And I thank you, Peggy. Mr. Jones, come on up. Can you help him?
Yes, my name is Kivas Jones, and I'm applying at the art program. It's right across the street from the Palm Beach Junior College. It's a very great program. Also, there's a couple of homeless people still living in the park, Lakewood Park, and they are coming in and sleeping at the park. So I got a few questions about that. So you're gonna do something gonna be done about it?
You're talking about John Prince Park?
Yeah, John Prince Park.
Well, actually, that's a county park.
Yes.
Which we have no jurisdiction over.
Okay. All righty.
I mean, but that is not to say that there's not a
Yes.
homeless problem everywhere. I mean, everywhere I go, it's a situation right now when we do the best we can.
Yes.
We're a city.
There should be homeless shelters.
There was one.
Yes.
Actually.
I
I think it was
yeah.
shut down though. Is it still open? I just got, thank you. Because I just got word that I was told that the homeless shelter out by the fairgrounds was closed. That's what? He took someone there yesterday. Thank you. So there is a homeless shelter and the
Yes.
police will take you there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's something, not enough.
And I also do speaking engagement for State Senator Rick Scott. And the program that I go to is Agency for Persons with Disabilities in West Palm Beach. So I also do that for I go to high schools and talk about people not being bullied in high school. So there should be a law against that. So there's none. There's no law. People are being bullied for no reason.
I think that's a change of heart that we need, not a law.
It should be. They should put a stop to it. So that's my comment for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you, Quinn. Oh, no, yeah. Thank you very much. Todd Velez.
Yes.
Thank you. Todd Velez, 530 North G. We have an upcoming proclamation in the next month, so I'm excited about that. And some of the things that were spoken of in these last month or last week's or the last meeting's avalanche of proclamations. Biblically, proclamation means hear ye, hear ye. So that's ties in with some of the things that we have with the proclamations here that kind of tie in or would help the Royal Poinciana Park situation. It's a pocket park of a little over 2 years, and you thought it's been there 20 years. I've been told that, well, that's federal money or it's a county thing. It's not really our park, and it's not an embassy. It's not the airport. What is it? The terminal. So it's can be addressed. We had a gun issue there, which was air gun and a laser. As someone asked me what I was talking about last time with the pizza, if you pull a pizza out to eat it and someone fears for their life, you can get shot. Or a Bible or an ID card or a hand sprayer for your hose if someone fears for their life. So we had an incident where we had a pumpkin patch and we had kids come and throw quite a few of them out in the streets and hit cars in the wee hours. And we were subpoenaed, hounded to the church to prosecute, but we wouldn't. But because I went out after I expected problems, when I called the police, they weren't interested and weren't happy to see me. They did eventually catch the people because I went and found them by chance, and they did arrest a few. So they can override you. I've been told by Christy Rogers with the county down in downtown West Palm that some things they can override because it benefits the people if even I didn't want to. So if the person has a gun pointed to their head and they work for the park, well, then you can it can be pursued without their consent. We had this at 1419 North 14th Street, where the person wanted their trash picked up across from Sunset Park and pulled a gun on the garbage man, and the garbage man called. I happened to see it as well, but I don't know what really happened to that other than they didn't stay too long. The Royal Poinciana Park, as I spoke to the principal for, which I'm glad she came, for the junior high school, we find a lot of their IDs up and down the church property as well as the street and in the park. And they're interacting with the adult.
Thank you, that's time.
With the high school students.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do you have any public comment?
I do, Madam Mayor. I have 3.
Thank you.
The first is from Sam Smith at 109 North Palmway. I appreciate the mayor and city rec department looking into whether our and how Spillway Park should be improved to include play equipment for children in the north part of the city. I appreciate the city recognizing that children and families that live in the northeast quadrant of the city are underserved, in that there are no playgrounds located in this area of the city. However, as a resident of Parrot Cove, I once again urge the city to explore putting in a playground at the city municipal golf course clubhouse area, Parrot Cove and College Park, east of Federal and between Lucerne and the Canal, is a very large residential area with many, many families and 0 playgrounds and very limited parkland. The golf course is centrally located, has parking, and has unused public-owned land. This city-owned land should be utilized for a playground. Thank you. The next comment I have is from Jill Carlin at 2381 Sunset Avenue, number 205. I was taught by my late husband, the father of environmental architecture. I am a research source. I urge you to utilize the plans I share with you to move Lake Worth Beach to a world leader in sustainability. On July 6, 2022, at minute 20, I presented a visionary plan for new transportation system, a gondola, electric vehicles like Circuit, tiki water taxis in the intercoastal to service our city, as well as a new plan for what I call Oceanfront Park, removing all the blacktop from the south side and replaced with a lazy river, skateboard park, dolphin rescue pool, multiple pools, mineral pools, walls of water, food trucks, vendors, permaculture gardens, walkways, bike paths, a world-class water park, and more. I move all the parking to the Tri-Rail station, which will have 3 stories under the I-95 overpass. Please consider the possibilities. We can lead the world in this endeavor. And the last one I have is from Jonas Reed at 1325 North N Street. Earlier this year, the commission agreed to put a hold on ground cover and artificial turf violations. On April 11th, that hold expired. During the 90-day hold, there has been 1 non-public work session and 0 public work sessions on this matter. I am reaching out today to request a subsequent 90-day hold be implemented until a meeting that includes public comment can be held.
Thank you. Thank you. All good ideas. Thank you very much. Now we have the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, we skipped the approval of minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, we did.
Can I have the approval of can I have a motion to approve the minutes of?
Motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Malega, second from Commissioner Stokes. All in favor? Aye. Sorry about that. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion for A?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
That was the consent agenda.
That was the consent agenda.
Okay. Thank you.
Unfinished business, professional service agreement with FAU for housing emergency study and policy response analysis. And do we have a presentation from someone?
Yes, I think Carmen and I will both be speaking. This is not ready for the agenda yet. It's been back and forth with FAU. They've had a lot of layers to go through there, the attorney's office, the administration office. So they do have some proposed new deadlines. I think Carmen has those deadlines that would push back this project a little bit. So Carmen, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, so in the revision of the time frame, FAU has revised its milestones. And I apologize because I had this email up and I do not see my email at this time. Give me 1 second. Pretty much, there are 3 milestones, deadline dates, and due to their reviewing, the attorneys at FAU reviewing the revised scope, because as you know, the scope was changed once the trying to think, what is it called? Help me, Glenn. The rent control. Thank you.
And I'm thank you, Valentina. She's right on the spot. The deadline.
Oh, great. You have the dates, Valentina.
She's great. Milestone number 1 changed from July 31st to September 4th. Again, we still have the final, but this is their current communication. So July 31st to September 4th. Milestone number 2 was changed from October 31st to November 20th. And milestone number 3 is changed from January 31st to March 1st. So as you can see, everything is pushed back a little over a month, depending on the milestone.
And the reason for this was?
The reason why the milestones were changed when the legislature changed the rent control issue. Remember, the rent control was part of the original housing study process. So that was removed from the scope of work. And by removing that from the scope of work, it changed the format and revised the scope of work. So in doing so, FAU made some revisions to the agreement, and which then means that they have to take that revised agreement back to their attorneys for review and approval prior to us bringing it forth to the commission. And so that changed some of the deadline dates from the original agreement.
Thank you. Wasn't there a, didn't we also change to put in more of it, because we didn't have to worry about the rent control, that the short-term rentals was more of a focus?
Yes, that is part of the scope. I think that was part of their first milestone phase to analyze the short-term rental issue in our city and its impact on our housing.
So the price is the same, we're just talking about the deadlines?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No?
The price is a little different,
Valentina has got
Valentina?
you.
Well, you better get up there, Valentina.
That's what I meant.
Good evening, Valentina Sesteta, Assistant Finance Director for Purchasing. The price has also changed. On your last meeting, you requested a $5,000 to be included for their additional services, for translation services. The FAU was adding 31% on top of that for their indirect cost rate. So that price of $5,000 would increase to $6,550. And even though we removed the rent control, we still have those additional services. So the price did not drop because they will still have to do the same amount of work, if not more, to have that completed. So the cost in the end would come up to about $57,000
instead of 31.
No, it was 50.
55.
55.
I think originally. So we have only about 30% increase on that 5,000, but we did not have a cost reduction. If you remember, we discussed that just because they're going to continue to do additional services. They're not going to do that, but the scope has actually changed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McVoy?
Just a quick comment, having been involved with academic research at universities, it's probably important for us to remember that we are not negotiating directly with a professor or a group. We are negotiating with the university. There's usually an office of sponsored programs. And much to the chagrin of professors, the university takes a certain amount of cut. They argue that, hey, we're keeping the lights on, we're giving you an office, we're doing all these things. And so we get a little bit. So, and that usually adds some delays to the process.
You're absolutely correct. That's exactly why this has been delayed, and that indirect cost that they have to recover. We understand that, and the delays. There are many layers in the university. You just said it's not just the professor making the decision. I think if he was, the work would have started already, and maybe almost done.
I don't know any specific about FAU's one, but this is pretty common across universities in general.
Thank you. We have one public comment, Mr. Raphael. Todd, you have another? Oh, no, you need to come up to the mic. You need to come up to the microphone.
On the tree board.
We're unfinished. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
What is this? Container house. This is not, what are you talking about? Todd, this is container house? Solar field? That's. No, we're not talking, that's done. We're on an agenda item now. We've passed public comment.
Business.
Yes, we are, but that's not what we're talking about. I'm sorry, Mr. Raphael, I made a mistake. Does anyone from the public have a public comment about this particular contract?
One in.
You do? Okay, I didn't get my initial time to do this. Okay. There it is. I knew there was one. Thank you.
Yeah.
I should have known it was you, Peggy.
That's what he said. Peggy Tisher, 508 North A Street. So for $60,000, $65,000, which is 1/3 of the annual cost we heard about for all the students, homeless students in the city of Lake Worth under the Feeding Hungry or Living Hungry proposal that they sent. We're going to do a study that's going to tell us we have a housing crisis, which the whole nation has a housing crisis. We have a problem with short-term rentals, which we know we have a problem with short-term rentals. We know we have two options with short-term rentals. We either enforce our law, our rule, or we continue to let them be where they are and set some procedures in place. So we can't use this study for a rent control ordinance. So I'm a little confused about the significance of spending this amount of money on an item that really at this point, a lot of the reasons for having it before are no longer valid. And that significant amount of money could do a lot of good for all those homeless students that were mentioned earlier in this meeting and all their needs. I think providing funding for 1/3 of what they would need would be pretty significant for the city to step up and do that. Thank you.
Thank you. If you recall, we had a lot of discussions about this, Ms. Fisher, a lot.
Did I was right here.
I know you were. All right. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anything we're approving?
It's not a motion to approve. This was just a report tonight because
report.
we'll be bringing back. We just wanted to give you an update as to where we were.
I'm triggered.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Should have been clear.
That's correct.
Or clear.
We just wanted to keep you informed.
And
It's a funny thing.
adorable. Okay, now we are on new business. Purchase order with Allen J Fleet Sales for the procurement of fleet replacement vehicles. Mr. Brown?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commission. Jamie Brown, Public Works Director, Interim Assistant City Manager. So this item is for the purchase of 4 additional vehicles for our fleet. 3 of these will be replacing current vehicles which are beyond their useful life, and 1 is for an additional position was added in the building department. The hybrid is going to IT, and the 3 terrains are going to the building department. So just like we have done in the past, we either use Sourcewell or the sheriff's contract, like many other government agencies in the state, because that provides the best pricing for vehicles.
Better than Commissioner Malega?
Oh, right, yeah.
We have not utilized.
Did she get a cut at him?
Services.
And I do not do business with Alan J, just for the record.
Okay,
But I do have a question.
okay.
So I had emailed last week in regards to, on the quote in regards to the RAV4 hybrid, they have no tag work included, but all the other cars, they're including the tag work. So I was concerned on why are they not doing it on this vehicle?
I'll check on that, but tag work is included. We always make sure
It
it's
says temp
included.
tag not requested. Customer will handle their own tag work.
I will look into that,
Thank you.
but they always do include that. So we'll make
That's
sure.
why I highlighted it and emailed it. So I wanted to make sure we didn't get convoluted. Motion to approve. Oh, sorry. Didn't see your lights.
Oh, Commissioner,
Just quick one, happy to see the hybrid in there for the one of them. Is there any likelihood of us being, as we move forward, to do more and more electric ones, or at least semi-electric ones, or those kind of things? We
Yeah,
have an
we-
electric utility that gives us good price on the
We do.
charging.
And we're getting to a point now where we're doing a ratio of electric vehicles to our standard vehicles. The issue, and I'm sure you've seen some of the battery problems that have been coming up here and there. We just want to make sure we're not putting all our eggs in one basket yet, because some other agencies, specifically up north, are having an issue because they kind of went all in. And now some of their vehicles, I think it was the 2018, I can't remember, I don't know if it was the Bolt, I don't remember the actual model, they bought like 30 of them. They can't get batteries for them right now. So they're in a situation where there's nothing, and there's no time frame as to when they're going to get them, and they're kind of deadlocked. They're having to go out and purchase other vehicles while they have, and they can't sell them back. They can't do anything with them. So at this point in time, we're trying to do hybrid as well as some of our other, obviously heavy equipment. We're just not there yet.
Yeah.
But as we're purchasing vehicles, you do see like every other one coming in as an electric vehicle.
Yeah, and I think everybody and their brother is working on building batteries factories here in the US. So I think that will be a temporary blip was my guess. I agree with you. Don't buy all
coming.
30.
It's definitely coming.
Yeah.
And we'll be ready for it. You see, we're doing more and more charging stations. So it's definitely coming, but we're just kind of being a little conservative.
We don't need to be
making sure we're not throwing all our eggs in one basket, but
good.
We will be ready.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, was there any public comment?
There was no public comment. Who made the second?
I made the motion.
I'll second.
Oh,
Did you second her?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Diaz made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll just point out, we have really good mechanics because a nearly 20-year-old Ford to keep it running. That's probably the most environmentally, a big focus is on EVs and whatnot, but to keep these vehicles running for that long, I think is really an environmentally friendly thing to do as well.
I will give a
Kudos
shout
to
out
the
to
team.
our fleet maintenance team because they are very, very good. And the point that we have, we're a 7 square mile city.
Yeah. Really.
So we're able to extend the life of our vehicles a lot more than a typical municipality would, which is why you'll see a lot of our vehicles are a little bit older. But we have stuff that's 15 years old that still has under 15,000
What do we do with
miles on
them
it.
when we're
Under 15?
Yeah. Yeah. What do we do with? I'm sorry.
Are you turning the odometers?
what?
We are not.
How do we do with the old vehicles? We sell them?
So yeah, so what we use JJ Kane, the county auction, to auction off those vehicles at the end of their useful life, and that money comes right back into our fleet fund. We have that revolving fund. So when vehicles reach their end of the life, you've kind of built that pot up, so you have money to purchase new vehicles with. So
Did we vote?
Yeah, we did.
All right, they're next. Up next is resolution 16-2023, approving the city's participation in the Florida Cooperative Liquid Asset Securities System interlocal agreement. Good evening, sir.
It's good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Yannick Indahayo, Interim Finance Director. This interlocal agreement will authorize the city's participation in the FL class and intergovernmental investment pool authorized by the Florida statute. It would be a great opportunity for the city to increase its interest earnings on its daily operating funds while maximizing safety and liquidity. It's also important to note that the FL class currently has approximately 50 other cities participating in that same investment pool.
And you're recommending that we do this?
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
So
Any questions? Do you have a motion?
Second.
Thank you.
Motion by Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Malega, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think you had a line.
Oh, now the light on.
I did have a light on. I know that the question is, this is an investment organization, correct?
Right. It's an investment organization, but it was created by, I believe, Palm Beach County, by public entities, and it basically invests the funds on a daily basis.
Instead of money sitting in the bank, not earning any money.
Right. Yeah, it's a good thing. As I raised in comments the other day, the governor has said things about environmentally, ESG, environmental, social, governmental. Does this fund pay attention to that, not pay attention to that?
I would have to go get back to you on that
Can't do
one.
that anymore anyway, so.
I'd have to.
I'm curious to see, because certainly the information that I get is that generally following those things tends to do better on the return on investment.
Okay.
So it's
I
unfortunate that
have someone here from FL class, Matthew Tite. Can
we bring Mr. Tite up?
Yes, he's.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Yannick, and thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. So the answer to your question with respect to ESG, we do not approach our portfolios or our strategy with respect to any political agenda. We strive to outperform a benchmark. We strive to outperform any strategy for the betterment of the participants within the fund. without taking any political active nature to any of the decisions we make from an investment standpoint. So with respect to ESG, granted, it's a hot topic. It's a political football, so to speak. But with respect to how we approach our investment strategies, we look for the total return and the best return for our participants.
Matt,
Would you,
Yep.
would you just explain a little bit about what ESG is?
Pardon me?
Would you just do a real quick explanation of what we're talking about with ESG in the investments?
Sure. So ESG, the acronym ESG stands for Environmental Social Governance. And it's really, it's an investment approach based on corporate policies, corporate policies with respect to companies acting responsibly. I'll give an example, the investment in Chevron or any oil and gas type of company with respect to, climate change, things of that nature. It really has become a political approach to how asset managers invest their funds with respect to these types of companies within. Again, it has become a very hot topic as of late, but at the end of the day, we approach our investment strategy with respect to the total return of the investors that we're managing money for. So with respect to Florida Class, which is a pooled product with Florida local governments that invest their funds to a tune of roughly $5.5 billion under management, we're doing our best to provide a rate of return that is in the best interest of our investor base. Not to say that we're not, paying attention to the companies that we're investing in and their impact in social governance, but it really has become a political football, for lack of a better term, with respect to how asset managers approach the way they invest. And in our opinion, we stay away from that, and we invest in the best interest of our participant base.
Thank you. I see Mr. Diaz has his light on.
Yeah, I was just going to point out, that bill is concerning, and it's like Mr. Matthew Tite said, it's a political football. And I actually had a conversation with managers and whatnot to kind of get their perspective on this. And I guess the good news, the good and bad news is basically, the bill, it goes through, but it's really vague, and it's up to the legislature to come up with what in the world is it going to mean. But right now, maybe it's a knock on wood thing because it is such a political football, as he puts it, that the managers aren't necessarily concerned about it, because there's going to be a caveat that says, whatever makes the most money is going to always be acceptable. Shocker, right? And so, like you just pointed out with Jamie, like everyone in the US, it seems like everyone knows somebody who's starting a battery company. And I think in the near future, it's just, when it comes to these things and investing in them, those are the things that are going to make the most money anyways. So it's a bit of a should we be concerned about it? Probably. We should keep tabs on it and see what legislature does and whatnot. But in the meantime, I think the stress isn't quite there, because everything that was suggested would be banned by that bill is like the stuff that's going to make the most money anyway. So people are going to invest in it anyways. And
because if it still makes more money, you can do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Do we have a vote? All in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. Thank you. And next up is the finance number C. which is ordinance 2023-09, revising the Finance Advisory Board. Would you like to address this?
You want me to read this?
Or
You want me to read the title first?
you could.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance number 2023-09 of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, revising chapter 2, article 17, section 2-130 through 2-135 of the Code of Ordinances regarding the city of Lake Worth Beach Finance Advisory Board, including the purpose, duties, membership, and meetings of the board, providing for codification, providing for repeal of conflicts, severability, and an effective date.
Thank you. Do I have any commission comments? I see Ms. Maliga's legs up.
Yes, I had brought up to Finance Director, Yannick, in regards to section 2-132 under membership. Letter C. That we had discussed previously, anybody on the financial advisory board would have to go through a financial disclosure, and that was left out. And because this was already printed and put out, we said we had to wait until, add it now, and then it'll come back at second reading. So requiring anybody on the financial advisory board to have the same financial disclosure form that planning and zoning, historical preservation, we have, and somebody else.
Oh, and it's gonna get worse.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be fun next year. So that's my ad under section 2-132 is financial disclosure. That's all I have.
Ms. Stokes?
Yes, I have a question. Maybe our city attorney can help us out. With the new forms that we have to complete, does that also apply to our advisory boards?
No, not yet. Who knows what's coming down the pike, but right now, Form 6 is a much more extensive form than the Form 1 that's currently being filled out by commissioners and advisory board members. The legislature passed a new law that imposes the Form 6 requirement on local elected officials in municipalities, such as all of you. But that does not impact advisory boards such as planning and zoning, historic preservation, financial advisory. So
you say they're
they
Form
would fill out
one?
the Form 1. They would
can still
fill out
do
the same
Form
Form 1 that you're currently filling out, but not the more extensive Form 6.
Then I want to make it clear that we're talking about Form 1 as long as possible, because these are volunteers. And one of the concerns about the new Form 6 is that it might, the people who voted no said it might prevent people from wanting.
It's gonna be a
run for
chilling effect on
office.
people coming.
And I would hate to take that and pass it on to people
Mhm.
wanting to volunteer.
Right.
And Glenn, they took out the city manager portion of
Yeah,
that.
they
did. They
It's
did.
just city
Yeah.
commissioners.
Just mayor and commissioners.
So I'm okay adding that in as long as it's clear that we're not talking about the new form.
Okay, so we'll make it clear that it's Form 1 that we're talking about.
I have a question for you, Finance Director. As I read this, and this is the way, there's very few changes in this, the number of the board and stuff, but how do you see the role? Because as I read it, it almost seems like a micromanagement of the finance department. And I just wonder honestly what your reaction to this is.
For this,
I don't mean to put you on the
advisory-
spot, but you're the
No
one
problem.
to
No,
answer
for
the
this
question.
advisory board, the way I see that, this advisory board, it would be more like a partnership to the finance department. It will help us point out certain things during the budget process, or if we need to present to the commission a certain, like a budget to actual, or if they have like a certain project they want to present on a monthly basis, they will be the voice for us.
Okay, so you feel comfortable with them with,
Very much comfortable, yes.
okay.
We just had a problem with them participating.
Well,
Most-
yeah, that's,
most-
yeah,
that
I
was-
think
that
that's
was
why
the
we're going
main
from
issue.
7 to 5.
Right, yes.
Okay, yeah, because as I read, I'm like, I mean, it's not a, it takes a lot of commitment, I would think, and people.
It
that know
would-
what
we
they're
would have
talking
to
about.
take
You
down
wouldn't want me on that
minutes.
board.
You're more than welcome, actually.
No, you
That-
don't want me on that board. Okay, I just wanted to, and I apologize for not checking with you ahead of time and almost
No, no
putting you on the
problem.
spot, but
No problem.
that was a joy. Mr. Diaz, I see a light.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think this has to be in the ordinance, but we did talk about one of the duties, if you will, or one of the jobs that this board could do is to prepare some sort of like regular newsletter, report, some sort of breakdown of this is where the city's money is being
Quarterly
spent.
report?
Yeah, like
Yeah, quarterly
something
report.
akin to like, a regular, almost like nonprofits have to do an annual report, but maybe something regular so people can be informed.
Well, they've been up to.
Yes, so
Yeah.
this will be a good opportunity to have them participate in preparing those reports.
Right.
And
And that duty doesn't have to be in the ordinance, right?
Mr. Attorney?
I don't think it has to be in the ordinance. I mean, I think it's the understanding, it doesn't hurt to put it in, but I'm not sure that it's required.
It's
Madam
common
Mayor?
practice. for
Because then if one
finance.
quarter comes
Yeah.
along and they can't do it, then they're against the
Right,
ordinance. So
right.
it's,
That's one of our goals that we have, is to present to the commission a quarter report where we are as far as the budget, as far as the funds, a projection. But we're not there yet. We're playing catch up at this very moment.
do you have now?
Well, this ordinance would allow 5, well, we don't have any.
Oh, you don't have any?
We
Oh,
don't
okay.
have,
We have openings.
don't have any. unfortunately.
Oh, okay, all right, so, motion?
Madam Mayor,
Yeah, oh,
I
yeah.
apologize. The city manager had her hand up.
Oh, I was looking and I didn't see it.
Yeah, I just put it down. And since you're moving forward, I didn't want to delay the discussion. I was just going to make a comment regarding any type of reports, and I was just going to add that I didn't think it's necessary. Certainly, it indicates in the ordinance that they meet as needed. So I'm sure that either me as city manager or Yannick as the finance director will be able to seek the aid and call forth a meeting to engage the board as needed.
Okay, thank you.
You are.
Motion,
Motion to approve with the changes.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
D. This is revising the C1 Canal Advisory Committee and changing its name to the Waterways Board. We've discussed this a little bit about it. Do I have any commissioner comments or questions? Okay. Mr. McGoy.
Just to say that I appreciate that there were a lot of edits to it that I think reflects that it's very different from the original C-51 Canal Board or Committee or whatever it was. And that our focus is much broader on trying to have as good a relation as possible to our nearby water bodies, both from recreation, from education, from protection of them. So I'm appreciative of the work that staff did to make the edits.
Okay, Ms. Maliga.
The only thing I didn't like is under section 2 for Waterways Board shall be comprised 5 members who reside in the city of Lake Worth Beach to the extent possible. Members should have experience in one of the following: youth education, especially water related, boating with the preference for non-motorized. I didn't like that part. I'm like, boating is boating. And me, if I have somebody who's a boater who's got 10 years or 30 years of experience in regards to what, I just don't know why we put with the preference for non-motorized boating.
Well, doesn't eliminate motorized boating. I don't know.
I don't know, it just to me was a little like kind of shuns people who use boats with
They have
motors.
all the gas that goes in the water.
I understand, but it's still a waterways board.
Okay.
It's a preference and the.
All right, Mr. Diaz.
Sorry.
Yeah, crafting an ordinance is always a thing. I think I kind of agree with that. I mean, similarly, because the boating encompasses all, right? Sail, paddle, PWC, whatever it may be. And we maybe don't need that kind of detail. I think similarly, like I love the last line, or an aspect of water science. But I think it does capture that limnology, wetland science, or oceanography are just examples. It doesn't have to be those, but maybe we can just strike that out, because water science can be soil scientists, ichthyologists, it could be topographers, a whole slew of things. So we can keep it more general, if you will.
Couldn't it be like a marine biologist too? I mean, God, we wouldn't want to turn that down.
Well, marine biologist is just one aspect of
That's what
a
I'm saying.
water
So,
scientist,
yes,
right?
Science is more broad. I
So-
think that it got a little too
Specific.
It did.
With boat, okay, yeah.
All right, so do you want to make those 2 changes?
Yeah, I would move to approve it.
Ms. Stokes?
What?
You feel like me.
No, I don't have my letter.
Oh, no, I'm asking you. He just said we're suggesting some changes and I just wanted to.
Oh, yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
So
Sorry about
what,
that.
can you repeat? what
Yeah.
your changes are?
I can make the motion, I guess, to approve, but with removing the examples the preference for non-motorized, so keep it boating and also removing the like limnology, wetland science, or oceanography.
Second.
All in favor with the changes?
But should I read the title before you vote?
You really want to read these?
I'm really trying to keep you legal. I'm sorry.
That's what we pay the big bucks for. Okay, it's a short one, no.
Okay, ordinance number 08-2023. You were all so much fun. You got to know that. Anyway, ordinance number 08-2023 of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, revising the
I'm
city.
sorry, Glenn.
Yes.
That's for the tree board. They're doing the C-51 canal.
This is the resolution. See, this is the resolution. I'm a
Yeah,
step.
it's a resolution.
Sick. It's a resolution.
Got it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now,
Now you may read it.
well, no, now the next one is,
Next one is an order.
yeah, next one's. So,
Yeah, I'll read this, but I'm so excited to read it.
okay, next up is the last, almost the last item on the agenda, which is an ordinance 2308. Revising sections 2-82 and 2-83 relating to the city tree board and changing its name to the Tree and Landscape Board. Would you read the ordinance by title?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 08-2023 of the city of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, revising the city tree board to serve in a planning and advisory capacity with qualified city employees and/or consultants responsible to oversee the writing and implementation of an annual plan for planting and maintenance of city landscaping, severability clause, conflicting ordinance to repeal codification clause, and providing an effective date.
Thank you very much. And I see our own Aaron seated up there. I want to just make a little comment before we get started. I've had a lot of feedback on this item from a lot of different people. I have some, before we get sort of started, I mean, I have some concerns about the ordinance. And I don't know if they're shared or not because we can't talk about it. So before you started, I just want you to know, we're sort of like walking on eggshells.
Well, I mean, I'll just say that.
Can you bring the microphone down because it's hard.
Sure.
It's for the people at home. No, when I listen through, this really hard to hear.
It's a little better with the microphone. Okay, so for the record, Aaron Seed, Assistant Director. So what we did is we listened, and staff then goes back and writes. And then we take our best stab, and then that's what first reading is for, is did we get it right? And if we didn't, then we change it. And really, an advisory board serves at your pleasure, and the scope and what its functions and what it's created to do is really by your design as the commission. So anything you want to do to this ordinance, it doesn't really, it's no skin off my, it's a draft. It's a rough draft.
Okay.
We started, this one really went back and did a lot of changes to it. And one of the issues, I know that I've heard that there has been some concern over is the work plan item, which was item A. And really where this idea came from was that the tree board has had a lot of been providing a lot of feedback to Public Works over the years, and it was a way to kind of as a method to consolidate that feedback into kind of a document or formalize that discussion. And some of the concerns were that some of the things that maybe some of the recommendations had a significant cost associated with it, and that the role of an advisory board is to advise, but the role of the city commission is to approve the budget. So there's a lot of overlap, and so we did our best. So if you want, I can pull up the ordinance and we can go through it. If you all have specific thoughts about changing it, we can do that. It's your show.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Does anybody want to get started? Who wants to get started? I think Sarah was on first. Yeah.
I think they're.
I have my own thoughts.
I had emailed Director Waters, and I think it was very short and sweet and said, this is way too far reaching for me. This is way beyond advisory board. To me, this is staff. I was really shocked. So now that you explained to how you got this, I understand because we've had in-depth conversations in this room. The one thing that really stuck out to me was under section 2-82, letter C, the very last line, and permit guidelines, including rules for tree removal.
Right.
I think that that's our staff's job. And I think that that's giving a little too much control to an advisory board. I love don't get me wrong, I love our residents, I love our volunteers. But I just feel that this ordinance in general, I have to mirror the mayor's words. When I emailed and I started reading this over 10 days ago, I got a little overwhelmed going, this is way too heavy-handed to me for a citizen advisory board. So I would like us to talk through it and see what everybody else thinks. But just that last line alone is the one that just kind of like pulled me in my permit guidelines. That's just a little, it's a little too much for me.
There's confusion here.
Right, for sure. So that language was actually part of their existing scope. And so we just carried that forward and just clarified that that would be, that they were providing guidance on that to provide feedback. Like if we change the guidelines for tree removal, they would provide like advise or provide feedback on that. So that if that feels like that's too far, then we can.
I just feel like that's why we have a horticulture store. What is in her name?
Is the word
Mr.
permit?
McBoy was next.
No, I'm just on this particular issue. This item C is talking all about providing recommendations, right? We're not giving them any new authority.
No, it's not. It's just, it's providing recommendations. So it's something, I mean, we can definitely bring it back and just providing education materials and then tree preservation and protection, both public and private. And we can strike the last item if that's a concern. Because I think that might be where it was really that there's guidelines for tree removal, and then we would go to them like we would the planning and zoning board and say, hey, what do you think about this? And if they had any feedback on it.
Which is a quasi judicial board, which has minutes, which is, I mean, like the,
Yeah.
which is different than the tree board.
So in the same vein, one of the things you had asked us to do was to review and provide recommendations on amendments to the city landscape requirements. So in that same note, is that still something that you're interested in having them do?
Yeah, I think I would like to look at I'd like to look at our landscaping code. I think there's certain things that we can talk about. I would like to, we, instead of small trees, I would like to see larger, that kind of stuff. So that would be something that they could look at and then come to us. I did that with zoning years ago, an ad hoc committee for zoning. We met and then we made recommendations to the city. Mr. McBoy was next.
Yeah, cities definitely differ a lot between how they view trees, how they protect trees, how they view their importance. All the research that I've ever seen, it's kind of interesting. You wouldn't think trees are a big deal, but the relation between trees and property values seems to be pretty tight. That there's a reason that you read articles about a leafy neighborhood. It's because those areas are worth more. If you have a policy that encourages extensive tree canopy, it tends to help out property values. But that's something that takes a citywide sort of view. Hey, we care enough about trees, we care enough about investing in them, we see the relation to property values, we see the relation to urban heat island effects, we see the relation perhaps to some environmental benefits. I hear the concerns that, well, what is the role of the community as an advisory board versus what is the role of staff? We are a small city. Our staff that relates to trees is one person. We have lots of people, traditionally have had lots of people in this city, and I believe continue to have people who have a lot of technical expertise, whether it's formal training or in practice experience. And I think it would make sense for us, given our city is small and limited resources, to tap into that and say, hey, can you guys give us some guidance? Can you guys take on some assignments? Check out other communities that seem to get awards for being leafy places or get awards for increasing property values for their trees, and give us some suggestions on how we might want to manage our policies as a city, build education, build encouragement for a tree canopy. Looking around our city and looking around other cities in South Florida, it's pretty clear that we are not very strong on trees. We just aren't very strong. And there are people who think that that's perhaps not the right direction to go. It anything that one does and regulates in a city is a balancing act where our city is not the Wild West. You can't do anything you want, even on your own property. There are things that we say, hey, that's just not in the best interest of the city. So we require people to do a variety of things. I think a tree board is a way of capturing, crowdsourcing, if you will, some of that expertise that we already have in our community and helping also in a way that in the past, at least, has been of putting their money where their mouth was, having tree festivals, bringing in people that talk about it, having tree giveaways, encouraging actually building that canopy.
Right.
So I think that having them, I don't see anything in the language that I have that gives them authority. We don't, they're advisory boards. We're not saying you can write the rules. We're not saying you can enforce anything. We're not saying you can set penalties. You know, none of that stuff is in there. It's saying, put your collective heads together, give us some guidance on things that relate to landscape, primarily trees, and a little bit landscape. And if anything involves costs, it would have to come to the commission and we'd have to think about it and say, thanks for your advice, but that's too expensive, or we don't think it's a good idea, or whatever. Nothing that the tree board would create would be binding, but it would give them a place to collectively bring their knowledge together and provide that to us as advice. I think that's exactly what advisory boards do best.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes is next.
Yeah, I'm still not seeing exactly where the concerns are that it's too far reaching. Maybe I'll hear more about it, but like part A is they're giving advice, and any advice that they give should come to us first, not directly to staff. It will come to us. And then we decide if we want to act on that advice or not. And then B, we definitely want to get them to continue reviewing things and providing recommendations. And C just felt like it was about public information and education. So if staff has put together permit guidelines, staff put that together, and when I read C, I just see that the tree board might take those guidelines that staff has put together and that we've adopted and agreed with and educate the public about it. So I didn't see it as the tree board actually like being overreaching. I just think C to me was all about trying to help make sure that our residents are aware of all the guidelines that already exist, like they did with the brochure that we're still hoping to get published and circulated soon. So if we have guidelines about tree removal, I would like the public to know about them. So that was the way that I was viewing C.
I'm just going to quickly respond to that because I think the concept is correct, but I think the language is a little awkward, the way that's kind of
I
tacked
think
on.
it's the word guidance, because everything else is recommendation on every other board, and this one says recommendation and guidance. I think that's what.
Okay.
I
No,
agree.
it's permit.
I think it's the word.
It's giving this how I read. And I know what you're talking about because I read it a few times. As I interpreted it,
Right.
it's letting the people know that there are guidelines. Here are the guidelines, public information. That's how I ended up reading it. And I have my own comments later, but Mr. Diaz.
Thanks for saying that because that was my reading. And you have these 3 guidelines, and just to kind of walk up back, what I look for, what I envision in terms of advisory boards, not just tree and landscape, but literally every advisory board we have, I feel like their job breaks down into 2 really critical categories. The first one is I don't look at it as they're replacing staff or anything. I look at these volunteers as help for staff. They bring in expertise, viewpoints, they bring their perspective to bring something to, Aaron or William and say, hey, we noticed this doesn't quite work out so well in policy. Maybe we need to work on that. Things like that, industry changes, obviously standards change. So I look at these volunteers as almost like volunteers to help Aaron and William come up with policy, which then they would bring to us. And I feel like that is well reflected in A and B, you know, especially like B, because it brings in the comp plan and LDRs and the IFAS Florida Friendly Landscaping Program, which we should be abiding to anyways. But clearly there's some sort of misunderstanding about C. So very clearly, I think there's some sort of language issue maybe. But, you know, I read it because, you know, I read it clearly as it's outreach, right? Like, that's what I read that as. And that last line is when I thought of as outreach is, you know, especially like the permit guidelines, for example, they're not coming up with permit guidelines. That's still our staff. That's just taking what staff has created. Hey, there was these changes maybe for permit guidelines, and maybe this advisory board, you know, helps Dave McGrew come up with a resource or a pamphlet or whatever that may look like to help educate the public. So I look at these advisory boards, the two categories is they help staff, they volunteer to help staff and educate staff and bring in perspective and expertise, but then they also educate the public. And that's what section C covers. If it needs language cleanup, then maybe we can discuss that, but I wouldn't remove anything.
Right, I think our attorney can wordsmith that a little bit.
I think Aaron and I.
You and Aaron can do it together. Okay, great. Okay, I have some comments. Number one, I believe that the tree board was originally designed and formed to help us become a tree city. And I don't think that ever happened. So I'm wondering if that should, you know, there's an application process, there's a process for that. And I wonder, and I don't know the answer, it's a question. You know, did that sort of fall by the wayside and now we've become a little different? But I mean, we'd love to be a tree city. And what do we need to do to get there? I would like the tree board to take that on and say, for us to fulfill the original intent of this thing, what does it take to be a tree city, and can we do that, or do we have the capabilities to do that, and bring that back to the commission and say, okay, this is what it takes, this is what we think we can do, can we do it, like, and go ahead. I have a problem with two things. Well, I have a problem with A. I don't think that it is the place of an advisory board to advise on the writing and implementation of an annual work plan. I believe that is clearly staff knows what they've got to do. They work on it. They can certainly share it with them, but I don't know that our volunteers are really in the position to give work orders essentially to our staff who are there for a reason. Mr. McGrew is, you know, we have a horticulturist. And we have a staff that does that. So I, you know, certainly they can have some ideas, but I advise on the writing and implementation of an annual work plan as prepared by qualified city employees. We've got a work plan formed by qualified city employees. Let's trust those employees. And certainly if there's something horrible, somebody will bring it to our attention. But I feel that part of it is an oversight. I understand about the confusing language for C, but for me, A was the problem. I think have them look at the landscape code and come back with recommendations. Absolutely. I think somebody needs to do that. But as far as talking to our staff and saying, I think you should do this next year, I don't know, Mr. Brown, you're here if you want to have a little input into this.
Good evening again, Jamie Brown, Public Works Director. I have a little bit of insight into this. So I think there's a little bit of confusion with the word guidance and the word implementation actually as well. Just kind of what's happened before. It would be helpful, I think, if we kind of laid out how you guys would like the process to work. And be that, you know, they meet. Maybe it's a quarterly report they bring to you guys. And if there are things or particular guidance or advice they have for staff, it would be helpful if we had that in the form of like an actual report.
Yeah.
Whether that's bullet points or something that then would go through the liaison, which is the horticulturalist Dave McGrew, and then it would make it to either myself in Public Works or Scott Roth, who's our ground superintendent. So we have something to actually look at, but that's as long as it's nothing policy related, because that would have to come to you guys as the board. But that would help us a lot. But what's kind of happened in the past is you've had people kind of trying to direct staff to do things a certain way. like up at the beach or wherever it might be, you guys need to be doing this, this, and this. And there's a little back and forth as to, well, who has authority to do what? And if I wasn't directed to do that by my supervisor, like, am I supposed to follow what, you know? a
So
volunteer
line
is telling me to
staff,
do?
like line staff?
Yeah, so there was a little confusion as to what is the actual role of the advisory board, because typically it's to advise you as the commission. But if we kind of put a few more things in place, I think it would make it very helpful, especially for staff. So it's not confusing to staff as to, well, am I following what this advisory board is telling me to do? Am I following what my supervisor is telling me to do? Am I not hearing anything back from the commission? So it's kind of a weird thing. So clearing up some of the language would definitely help. And talking with our city attorney before the meeting, the word implementation also, I think, is a little generic because it doesn't really specify what that means exactly. So we might need to do a few things. on
So we
this.
need to work on this a little bit. Commissioners, I think McVoy, Stokes, Maliga.
I think that Mr. Brown is correct with the example of the beach. To give some context to that I think it's important for us to understand is to step back a bit and look at empirically, how are we doing as a city? Are we a place where people come into town and they say, dang, this is clearly ought to be on the arbor list or the tree city list or whatever it is, because they're doing a bang up job with trees here? The answer to that is, of people who know a lot about trees, the answer is no. People don't wander in and say that. They tend to wander in and say the opposite. To take it to the beach specifically, I forget what year it was done, but there was a time where the landscaping of the beach was redone. Was a major effort. It was done by an internationally recognized design firm with a very specific focus on native plants as much as possible. It won awards. The firm is very well recognized in the US and outside of the US for doing well. If you talk to that firm starting a number of years ago, you will find out that they took our beach, their project, off of their website. They don't make much noise about it. That should give us a lot of pause, especially if you ask them why they did that. The reason they did it is the design was pretty solid. The management of it on our part as a city was highly unfortunate. And part of the difficulty is that managing native plants is very different than managing standard landscape plants that you get at Home Depot or you get it wherever. Most management companies, landscape companies, don't know what they're doing with native plants. You do different things with them. And so if you bring in a standard management contract, you get butchering and things done that gives the original firm that designed it and had a design criteria and knew what they were doing with the species, going, oh my God, what have these people done with this? And that's why they don't advertise it on their website. There is a long-standing concern about how the beach vegetation has been managed and how the beach landscaping has been managed. It is something that has drawn the attention of various members, various editions of the tree board for many years. It has frustrated the heck out of lots of tree board members who have said, you know what, we tried to help advise on how to do it right, and we're getting nowhere. And I hear the concern that Jamie raises is, well, if you got some member of the tree board who is talking to an individual staff and says, you got to trim it this way, and the supervisor comes along and says, you got to trim it that way, the poor staff person's going, what the heck? That's not a good situation. I completely agree with that. I think by getting the tree board involved, you crowdsource a lot of information of people who've actually done this stuff either professionally or experientially in their own areas or somewhere else. Crowdsource that, and then work with Jamie or whoever's appropriate to say, hey, what are we going to adopt? let's write up a management plan, agree on it, get the commission to support it, and then that's what we're doing. So there isn't multiple directions, because that's crazy. You don't want that. That makes no sense. But I think getting the crowdsourcing from the tree board to move us into a better place of how we manage trees in general and how we manage specifically the beach ones and a few other areas that we do have some vegetation. I think there's a lot to be said for getting that. Yes, there needs to be a process to review, bring it to us and we say, oh, that looks pretty good. That's how we're going to do things or whatever we want to do with it.
Thank you. I think you were next.
Yeah, I have a couple questions for clarification. One is, do we currently have a written document that we would consider our annual work plan, that when we hire a company to do maintenance and landscaping, we're like, this is our plan that we want you to follow? Does that currently exist?
No, that's what we're in the process of creating.
Okay, so you're in the process of creating that. So, right, I think we could clean up the language that they should be you would want them to review. I imagine we would want them to review it after you've created it. Right, so the writing of the plan you guys are doing. So maybe we just need to clean up the language that they would advise on the plan, not advise on the writing of the plan.
Correct. And I guess going off of Commissioner McBoy's example, in a perfect world, it would be nice if they came to the commission with their recommendations. Staff would then take, based on your comments on that, then we would then modify what we're working on, because the confusion historically has been, what do we want the beach to look like? Because as you mentioned, there are different ways to trim different types of landscaping. And depending on who you talk to, some people think that certain trimmings look good and some people think they look bad. And then on the other end, some people think that when you do it another way, it looks good, and other people think it looks bad. So ultimately, what do we want our beach landscaping to look like? Do we want it to look beautifully landscaped, with right angles, which a lot of people love. A lot of people say it looks Disneylandish and it's not what it's supposed to look like. A lot of people prefer things looking a little more natural, a little more shaggy. People are all over the board as far as what, So it's kind of, but we need to have some kind of consensus on what do we want our beach to look like, because that's going to cut down on all the confusion. It's going to make it a lot easier for staff. We now have direction on what our trimming plan should be, what all of our vegetation should look like, and it won't be kind of a mismatch of, well, this time it was trimmed this way, next time will be trimmed a different way, and kind of all over the board. So we really need to get some type of consensus.
If I could just add, if you like the idea of the work plan, it's just like, where does their feedback come in? So would staff create the work plan, take the work plan to them, get a recommendation, and then transfer that recommendation to you, and then we would schedule the item, and then you would provide the direction? Do you want it earlier in the process? Like, I think that's the thing. I mean, typically what we do with LDR amendments with all of our other advisory boards is how we operate it. Is staff creates it, then we bring it to the meeting for an initial round of public comment, and then we get feedback from the advisory board, which is just a recommendation. And whether sometimes staff incorporates their feedback, sometimes they don't, but they always present that feedback to you when you hear the item. So there's different ways to look at that. So I can work with Jamie and we can figure out where he thinks it's best to come in. And then we can, one of the things Glenn and I were chatting about is maybe we can continue first reading on this particular item. And then we can take a stab at some of this feedback we've gotten and restructure the ordinance a little bit, and then come back with another take.
Yeah, and one of the things, when something comes to us as a first reading, it kind of feels like this is the first reading. It's almost should be like a draft first meeting, so that we can have this conversation without the pressure of even having to approve or disapprove of what you've done, to have a little bit more of a dialogue before that on something.
And I think continuing a first reading whenever you feel uncomfortable with language in an LDR, I think that's a really good option for you all. It's just to continue the first reading and then continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I have a second. For item A, when we say, so this is the work plan for city-owned properties.
Yeah.
Only
City properties. Yes.
Is there a way to make that more explicit, because I don't know if some members say that they're gonna advise on all aspects of the planting and maintenance of city trees and landscaping. I don't know if any residents look at that and think it's every single tree in the city or not, but just to make it very clear that this is
City-owned property.
this is for our property. And I think that might help clear up some confusion as well.
Mr. Diaz.
Were you before me? Okay. Okay, I'm just trying to stick in order.
Appreciate it.
I mean, I think, describing it as like, what do we want it to look like? I think that's a one part of it, but let's not forget we have really strong guidelines on the Florida friendly landscaping thing. And there are certain things that are very clearly not a part of what they would recommend, like hat racking palms or like, walking through our downtown. I love our oak trees, but too many of them have really substantial root balls. And these are all like practices that, they kind of already address. So, I just don't want to gloss over that a lot of these standards and practices are already pretty well documented. And it's a matter of, and maybe this is the role of the volunteers, how do we take those things and implement it and make sure that, it happens, like the root balls on the oak trees. How do we, get someone to root prune them? What do we need to do, if anything, to the sidewalk to make sure it doesn't happen again? Things like that. I mean, again, clarification on the language is probably all that's needed because there is a lot of misunderstanding. I mean, yeah, those of us that are on this side of the dais, we see work plan, and like I just automatically know we're not coming up with work plans to do work on other people's property. But maybe we need to, if we need to clarify that and it's helpful, then I think we should.
Thank you. And then Commissioner Malega, and
I'm
then,
gonna be careful because I don't want us to run into a workshop on this because
yeah, really, we're getting real close.
The only thing that this makes me realize is that we do not have any formal plan for the advisory boards to give us their updates. So I would like staff to think about creating a form for every advisory board, even if it's only once a quarter, that they list out on a standard form for every advisory board, what their recommendations are, when they've met, what their attendance was, and a complete update from all the advisory boards. It just needs to be one form that comes through the city that we can all get emailed to us, or they can do a presentation.
That's not the quasi judicial boards.
No,
We can
on
see what
the
they're
advisory
doing.
boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we know
Do we
what
have
they're doing.
consensus to do that?
When they can come forward and say, we met and here's what we think.
Do we have consensus to ask staff to do that?
To come up with a form, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's all.
No.
Thank you. That's it.
And Mr. McVoy, last but
Just
not least.
kind of a reiteration of what Commissioner Diaz says, that yes, there is an aesthetic. Me and my wife have this argument and her kids weigh in too. Shaggy, not shaggy, that's a pretty much an aesthetic. It's just, there's no right or wrong. Some people like tomatoes, some people like tomato. But there are a bunch of things that relate to native plants that are specific. That, hey, if you want your native plant X species X to do well, you kind of got to do this. Otherwise, it's not going to do well. Other ones don't much care. But so I think there is a degree of crowdsourcing. That's what I mean by the crowdsourcing. Pull that in, have that be a help to our process with the appropriate review, either both by staff and by us, so that there's clarity by the time we get to the end.
And I think to go off what Commissioner Diaz said, following that got the guidelines, that would probably be helpful if we actually had that as part of the ordinance and actually listed that in there. So there's no question, there's no interpretation as to.
It was a good starting off point.
The Florida friendly landscape.
Yeah.
We have public comment. Mr. Richter, are you still here? No, I think he left. He's against. Jonas Royd. Is it Royd? Reed. R-E-A-D. Okay, it looks like R-E-U-D tonight.
Yeah, I got chicken scratch. Make me handwrite things. That's
Okay,
gonna
hi.
happen.
Name and address?
My name is Jonas Reed. I live at 1325 North End Street. It's funny that you guys talked about wanting to be a Tree City USA, because if you read this ordinance as written, whereas the City Commission wishes to apply to the National Arbor Foundation designed as a Tree City USA, whereas Tree City USA. Then you get there into a nice typo where they spelled city with a J, but it it's funny because whereas we're doing Tree City USA, but nothing in the verbiage of what they're doing gets us anywhere near there. The last survey was done in 2014. So we want to give them more authority and expand their role, but they're completely failing at what they were designed to do. I also find it completely crazy that none of you pointed out the fact that they've stricken out the need for recording attendance, recording minute meetings. Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't advisory boards still part of the Sunshine Law? Shouldn't they? I don't know. You might want to read up on that. It's section 1 of the manual that's put out by the Attorney General. It's on advisory boards. But
Okay, let's keep on.
I sitting here and just seeing this as a citizen, it scares me. We're giving an advisory board no term limits. So these appointed officials will reign in perpetuity and make conditions and perpetuity, work plans, recommendations, guidance. We already know that they've overstepped their boundaries. Rumors online is they've been going into people's backyards, and that's where a majority of the violations are coming from. None of that's been substantiated, but it's still scary that we're talking about giving them more authority to do things when they haven't come to the table with what they were designed to do. And no term limits, no accountability. You don't have to take attendance for their meetings. You don't have to take minute meetings. As a citizen, it's scary that they're going to be meeting and advising you guys on things, and we have no input or no insight on what it is that they're talking about.
Thank you. That's
Mr. Raphael. Yeah, I don't know why that stuff was crossed out.
My guess is because we didn't want to say it has to be the secretary that's doing recording.
No, but we should.
It will be recorded. It's just, it might not be.
All right. Understood. We're working on it, okay?
Rich Raphael, 832 North J Street. It's with concern that I find that the city commission considering changing the responsibilities of the tree board. In the history of the tree board, nothing of note has been accomplished that recommends additional duties be assigned. In the past, the tree board hosted an Arbor Day and gave away trees. That's a pretty low bar. And even that activity seems to have been abandoned. I once asked a representative of the tree board to provide an estimate of the number of mango trees in the Mango Groves neighborhood and was told that no such information is available. However, and quote, inventory of existing trees, unquote, is in the tree board's charter. I was told that the city arborist only documents the trees in public spaces. So what does the tree board do? A friend asked a representative of the tree board for advice on taking down a Royal Ponciana tree that was encroaching on her roof. She was advised to ask the city arborist. So what does the tree board do? Throughout the city, developers are destroying mature trees with plans to replace them with less robust bushes and trees and pay into a fund. How are these funds tracked and used? Far better would be for the tree board to follow its existing charter and establish a code recommendation as to how to protect these sparse resources. Has the tree board ever addressed the planning and zoning board regarding specific developer removal and replacement of trees? I'm not aware of such. So what does the tree board do? The proposed additional responsibility can be seen as encroaching on individual property rights for those Lake Worth Beach residents who strive to create an attractive landscape, but which might be incompatible with the University of Florida's Florida-friendly landscaping program. Inasmuch as the tree board has not been effective in addressing tree-related issues today, increasing their scope of responsibility to include personal property landscaping does not make sense.
thank you. That's
Okay, can I get
your last?
Okay.
Wrap it up.
Therefore, I respectfully request that the commission reject the ordinance change. Request that the tree board be tasked with developing an education program to foster understanding and cooperation between code and residents. And I request that the commission clearly define with citizen input the responsibility of the new tree and landscape board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Peggy Fisher?
Peggy Fisher, 508 North 8th Street. I attended the last tree board meeting for about an hour and 15-20 minutes. The tree board does not understand its role. It felt it should be able to write this ordinance and bring it to you. It didn't understand why they didn't get to see the ordinance before it came forward to you. Dave McGrew had to explain to them the process that goes through when something like this happens. They don't want to necessarily go to Aaron or William for things. They don't understand why recommendations they make to Dave McGrew have to go to Aaron and William before they come to you. There's a disconnect of understanding what this board is about and what their roles are. They are not the HOA commandos in the city, which is a city, not an HOA. I served on an advisory board for 3 years and served as a secretary. Dave McGrew should not be expected to do the minutes for the tree board. They should elect a secretary to take the minutes. Dave McGrew is trying to herd cats. And I'm sorry to say that, but that's what it was like. He does as well as he can, but there has to be some better understanding amongst these members as to what their role is and how the process works and how they go through staff up to you. They don't come to you and say, this is what should be done. They don't go to Jamie or to Carmen
Thank you. That's
and say the same.
Thank you very much. I personally would like to see the tree board focus on having us become a tree city, if that was the original intent.
Every year, do it every year.
Okay, well, then there you go. So I think we have a motion and a second. Do we want to, we don't? Okay, so let's,
Madam Mayor,
Wait.
yes, Shayla.
I apologize. I do have some comments in here.
Oh, and I do, no, you do. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you. Go ahead, sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
The first one I have is from Sam Smith at 109 North Palm Way. I am dismayed at the city's attack on homeowners who have embraced water-saving landscaping efforts that include zero-scaping materials like rock, mulch, and astroturf. It makes no sense for the city to require residents to dump hundreds of gallons of potable water into watering landscapes. The city tree board should not be expanded in its power to control and investigate city residents' landscaping choices. These board members have and do have the power to report city residents to code. Giving these folks additional power is a recipe for disaster. The city has much bigger issues to deal with, and I would urge the commission to reject this expansion of powers. The next one I have is from Diane Skoogland at 318 North L Street. The suggestion that we should revise Ordinance 2023-8, sections 2-82 and 2-83 is absolutely out of touch with what Lake Worth Beach needs and what the residents want from the board. We should not be allowing the tree board to expand and allow overreach to occur. Improve the tree board by providing professional training so that we benefit from proper and consistent knowledge. From my experience, the tree board can't even take care of trees, so there is no reason to suggest that they have the skill set or knowledge to expand their scope to include landscaping. Please don't disrupt our city anymore with these ludicrous time-wasting ideas and plans. The next one I have is from Giovanna Timor at 301 8th Avenue. I am retired from the city of Coral Gables, a city that fiercely preserves its tree canopy. When I interviewed for the board here, I did so in order to help preserve and enhance the tree canopy in Lake Worth Beach through the strengthening of our tree ordinance in conjunction with the dedication to its enforcement by the members of the board, currently made up of 4 women, each of whom is uniquely talented and passionate about the tree canopy, as well as the preservation and introduction of native plants onto an environment that needs focused attention. I have obtained a copy of the most recent July 1st, 2022 legislative changes that require tree risk assessment procedures be employed before a mature tree can be signed off for destruction. I have also obtained the City of Coral Gables tree ordinance so that the tree board, along with the commission, may use it as a guide to strengthen our ordinance in behalf of our tree canopy, which is being destroyed by the issuance of permits by staff without including the tree board or requiring a tree risk assessment be conducted by an arborist so credentialed before a mature tree is allowed to be destroyed on public or private property. We should not be recognized as a Tree City USA like many other cities in Palm Beach County until we have committed to safeguarding trees and all plant life to which we owe our very own existence. The name change of the board and other language changes being made to these sections of the ordinance do absolutely nothing to strengthen the ordinance or reinforce our mission to safeguard our tree canopy. The entire ordinance needs to be carefully reviewed and strengthened. I have watched and suffered the demise of dozens of trees that have survived hurricanes. The next one I have is from Tom Johnson at 108 Harvard Drive. I am opposed to any increased authority being granted to the tree board. The next one I have is from Brian Luongo at 1327 North Palmway. I am vehemently opposed to the proposed changes to the tree board for the following reasons. One, the removal of term requirements for members of the board and the removal of the city horticulturist as the advisor to the board. This increases the power of the tree board without proper oversight and bestows permanent status with no ability for the people to affect change. Two, the reduction of members in the board, which limits the voice of the people. Three, the removal of the requirement to have a secretary as an officer to record minutes of meetings. This violates the intent of the Sunshine Law and does not allow for public review of the board's actions. The city commission is supposed to be working for the betterment of the city and for the will of their constituents. The proposed changes do nothing but solidify power and hand over control to an even smaller handful of individuals that are not elected by the people. I strongly urge this commission to listen to their constituents and vote down these changes. Conduct a proper workshop where the citizens can provide comment and have input. The next one I have is from Anthony Segrich at 601 South Palmway. Ordinance number 2023-8. Hello and thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for considering my public comments. The Lake Worth Beach Tree Board was established to help the city of Lake Worth Beach achieve the distinction of Tree City USA, a distinction that comes with no tangible benefits and is granted by the Arbor Day Foundation. In addition, the tree board was to conduct and maintain a tree census. The last tree or canopy study was done by city staff in 2014. Yes, 2014, 9 years ago. To add insult to injury, the city of Lake Worth Beach is not in the list of Tree City USA qualified cities. This board has failed both of its rather modest objectives. It would appear this board could not even accomplish what seems to be a simple task of filling out the application for Tree City USA. What this board has done is to engage in overreaching their duties. This board is making unqualified recommendations to the city on topics like artificial turf, weeding, lawn care, and the landscape regulations. Expanding the board to increase its reach and influence is a bad idea. As residents and business owners, we do not want this. The city's regulations under section 23.6.1 are already being used to delay permits, deny business licenses, and otherwise harass good residents and businesses. The regulations are causing real monetary harm. We do not need another set of people dedicated to making this problem worse. This is unacceptable. We did not elect these people. The city has qualified staff to make such recommendations. We do not need citizens on patrol. The next one I have is from Thomas Lemire at 216 Wellesley Drive. One, wasn't the Lake Worth Beach Tree Board established to help the city of Lake Worth Beach achieve the distinction of Tree City USA? Well, why has it been 9 years since the last study? The city of Lake Worth Beach is not in the list of Tree City USA qualified cities. This board has failed both objectives. Number two, why is the board overstepping and making recommendations to the city on topics like artificial turf, stay out of our backyards, by the way, and other landscaping regulations? This is unacceptable and ridiculous. We did not elect these people. The city has qualified staff to make such recommendations. We do not need citizens on patrol. Again, stay out of our backyards. Number three, expanding the board is insane. As residents and business owners, we do not want this. We do not want some wannabe HOA running around making life difficult for everyone. How about creating some benefit for owners and businesses instead of gunning for good people just trying to live and make a living? They add zero benefit and are causing real harm to businesses and residents. Number four, I urge the commission not to expand the tree board, and I would like it to be dissolved for the reasons stated above. The next one is from Amy Ferreter, 330 South J. Ordinance number 2023-8, revising sections 2-82 and 2-83 relating to the Tree City Board and changing its name to the Tree and Landscape Board. This volunteer committee appointed by you is currently overreaching its role, and your action tonight could make it worse. This board is qualified. This board is making unqualified recommendations to qualified city staff. As a 30-year professional in invasive species management, I was appalled to hear members of this group call for allowing weeds and invasive plants to grow throughout the city. I can only assume this was in the name of promoting pollinator habitat, but this is a false choice. Nobody with any knowledge of invasive plant management would condone species in a landscape that are harmful to the environment. In a baffling choice, the HOA style group appears to be micromanaging manicured landscapes with an apparent geographic focus east of Federal. I can only guess why this is happening, but it is disturbing. Expanding this board to increase its reach and influence is a bad idea. The residents and business owners want you to focus on critical matters like infrastructure improvement, legitimate code enforcement, crime, and housing. Stay out of our yard. And the last one is from Willie Volk at 1405 North Ocean Breeze. The tree board was established in 2014 to help the city achieve the Tree City USA designation and to conduct a tree census. Unfortunately, the city never attained the Tree City USA recognition, and the board has not performed a census in 9 years, failing to meet its two objectives. Instead, the board has overstepped its role by surveilling neighbors and providing recommendations on unrelated matters like artificial turf, weeding, lawn care, and landscape regulations. This is unnecessary as the city already employs qualified staff to handle these areas. As a resident, I oppose expanding the board scope and influence. We do not want unelected, unaccountable individuals imposing unnecessary hardships on our community. The board's actions have wasted time and money through relentless lobbying for burdensome restrictions that offer no tangible benefits to the community. Given that the tree board has failed its primary task, the commission should refrain from expanding it. At a minimum, the commission should retool the board and hold it accountable to its original purpose and that purpose only. I'm sorry, there was one more. The last one is from Wes Blackman at 241 Columbia Drive. As a certified urban planner that has worked for 34 years in the profession, I understand what the acronym LDRs stands for, Land Development Regulations, and their importance in terms of the physical development and appearance to the community they regulate. The definitions section defines land development regulations as follows: the entirety of Chapter 23 of the City of Lake Worth Beach Code of Ordinances, Section 2-82 of Ordinance number 08-2023B refers to these LDRs. Chapter 2, where this wording would exist, is not Chapter 23. Furthermore, the city's Planning and Zoning Board is the local planning agency pursuant to Florida Statute, Chapter 163. Section 223.2-89B states the duties and the authority of the Planning and Zoning Board shall not include any matter which is the responsibility of one or more other city boards, unless the City Commission specifically refers such matter to the Planning and Zoning Board for recommendation. Landscape regulations are within Chapter 23. So how is this going to work really? Please keep true to the good planning practice and do not expand the authority of the tree board. The result would be further confusion in the eye of the public. It would also put the city on shaky legal ground, which could open the door to expensive challenges to the city's LDRs. Thank you. That is all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have discussed this for quite some time now. I see your light is on, but I think we have made a decision to refer this back to staff.
Motion to extend the first reading?
Okay, do I have a second?
Extend the first reading.
Can we continue it? Is it possible to continue it to the June 20th meeting because it's tight to turn around?
Okay, I won't be here on June 20th, if that makes any difference.
We can move it to the July meeting.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's gonna be the second meeting in July.
Yeah, we could.
It will be the July 18th meeting.
I'm sorry?
July 18th is the
18,
meeting.
okay. So I think if any of us have comments, we can go to staff and do that.
I was
Mr.
just
Mc-
about to say, I will get with
Yeah.
Aaron as well as
Yeah.
the city attorney, and I saw the city manager feverishly taking notes during this.
Lots of notes.
So this will definitely come up in one-on-ones with each of you.
Yeah.
So we can get together a comprehensive continuation of the.
Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on.
No, like, there were a lot of statements made in the public comment. This were inaccurate.
And we generally, no, we're not going to get into that. We're not going to do that. We don't, excuse me, Mr. McBoy, I am running this meeting. Mr. McBoy, we don't respond to public comment. You just said you are. We're moving on. City managers, city attorney's report.
Do we need the motion to continue to a date uncertain? And
Do we need a motion?
do we need to approve this?
The July 18th. The other option, as Glenn made, is that we could just re-advertise it as well, and that's fine too.
So do we need a motion then?
No,
No.
we just.
Okay.
We have your
All right. Thank you. Okay, city attorney's report.
I think you're all aware that the city had a foreclosure case regarding some property on North 8th Street. We recently had a summary judgment entered in behalf of the city, but we're going to be requesting an attorney-client session. So I'll read the notice into the record. Hopefully all of your calendars have already been cleared for this day. So I'm requesting advice from the commission regarding pending litigation, specifically regarding settlement negotiations and strategy into litigation expenditures in the case of City of Lake Worth Beach versus North H Enterprises, Inc. in the 15th Judicial Circuit, case number 50-2020 CA 009354. And I'm requesting an attorney-client session to be scheduled for June 6th, 2023 at 5 p.m. The estimated length of the session is approximately 1 hour. The session will be attended by members of the City Commission, Mayor Resch, Vice Mayor McBoy, Commissioner Maliga, Commissioner Diaz, Commissioner Stokes, City Manager Carmen Davis, myself, and outside counsel Brian Sherman. Certified court reporter will be present to ensure the session is fully transcribed and transcript will be made public upon the conclusion of the above cited litigation. So hopefully, that works on all your calendars. And
Does that work for everybody your time?
I told the attorney I might end up 5 o'clock is tight. I might be 5 minutes late, but it should work.
well,
Everybody, Mr. McBoy?
all right, thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.